two. Two. Check. Marty, finding out it was Super Tuesday on a Wednesday morning. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Finding out it was Super Tuesday after it was Wednesday morning. Lisan al-Gaib. Honestly, Lodan, I was like super into doing the call-outs and getting in character, and then I felt embarrassed. I was like, I'm taking this way too seriously. I gotta knock this off. But I think you're right, though, that we do need to have more communication. I agree. I was embarrassed. I was getting too into character, and now I feel like I pulled back too much. How's it going, Chris Barnes, GM Gamers? Marty will tell you that I've been doing the call-outs. Marty will tell you I've been calling stuff out. I think last night I've just been doing too many tours. I was tired and traumatized from too many tours in Malevelon Creek. Retreating into a shell of a person. I'm coming from like eager fresh recruit to like grizzled vet with the 1,000-yard stare. Yeah, exactly. It's being sensitive to my shell shock. My PTSD from the waves of bots. How's life there? Oh, it's okay. It's okay. For Super Earth, I'm going to do better. I'll do better for Super Earth, okay? This is my promise to you. It's my promise to you, Lodain, and just the community. Ugh. How are you folks all doing? It's my last stream of the week. I'm taking tomorrow and the next day off, doing some stuff with my son, doing some March break stuff. I'm out the entire week because the missus is in Canada. I play with both ears covered. I can't do that. Needing an ear to the ground for kid watch. I guess that makes sense. I mean, I do have to question your priorities right there, you know? Do you care about the Severin sector and the possibility of protecting Super Earth? Or your child? Do you care about protecting your child? What's more important, one child or an entire planet full of children who love democracy and freedom? The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one, as the saying goes. So I would just ask you to think on that. I think you should just think about that a little bit, that's all. Think about our boys getting ripped limb from limb at Malevelon Creek. They needed you, Marty. They needed your help. Our boys needed you there, and you weren't there. I want everyone to remember this next time Little Venom is out of school at no stream. So tomorrow. So tomorrow is what you're saying. Anyway, we did have a nice little... Oh, is Minority Report in the Discord? I did not realize that. I admit that I did not realize that. That's a heck of a movie, though. That's a heck of a movie. That's an all-timer tonight. That should be great. I've been watching that Shogun show. What do we think about that? Anyone watching that?
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
We didn't even do poorly, Diego. You saw us. We did pretty well. Von Manstein, thanks for the Prime. 2 months of Prime from Von Manstein. I appreciate it. Thank you. Von Manstein. I thought about starting it. I'm a child of the 80s. I saw the original. No, I've never seen the original, but pretty well done. It's pretty well done. I'm going to hold off until all the episodes are out watching this miniseries called Northwater right now. That's interesting, and that might be a good idea, waiting until it's all out. There's only 3 so far, but I did start that. It's pretty good. It's well done. Really good. The sets, the costumes, the visual effects. It's like really, they really nailed the look and the tone. They really got that kind of historical epic feel. Totally down. Good cast as well. And that's all pretty much I got going on. Rob is a leader of men, the man is him. I wasn't intentionally going off on my own last night, okay? I was being chased off with a real, I gotta be honest, a real lack of support from the rest of the squad. Not that I was counting. Not that I was counting. Who's counting? Who even pays attention to that stuff? Anyway, we'll do better next time. And we still did do pretty good. I'm just trying to channel the gimmick so he ends up as Walken in Helldiver's version of Deer Hunter. I'm still not over Christopher Walken as the Paddy Shah Emperor in Dune. That is some wild casting. For a movie that they really nailed the casting of the whole movie, and that it's so out of left field. Bringing in Walken to play the Emperor in Dune. It's a really bizarre choice. I didn't hate it. It doesn't not work, but it takes you out of it though. It totally takes you out of it. You see Walken on the screen and you're just like, there's Christopher Walken. There he is. I really need to see Dune 2 again. I really do. Lisan al-Gaib. Chat, would you talk me up like Stilgar? I guess I shouldn't be asking you, Chat, if you would talk me up like Stilgar, considering it became a meme on this channel to depict me as a literal worm god from Dune. Which we were ahead of the curve on Dune, by the way. We were way ahead of the curve. We were doing Dune memes way before it was cool on here. Way before the first one even came out. In fact, we were excited for the first one to come out for that exact reason. So in a way, you're all kind of my Stilgar. You literally did refer to me as a worm god emperor. Did I lean into some of that? Did I contribute to it? Maybe. It's kind of like the Bene Gesserit. Are they contributing to some of these narratives? Are they contributing to some of these messianic signs and symbols and planting these ideas? Maybe. Who's to say? Who's to say whether they are or they aren't? You know? It's really a lot like that when you think about it. I have to admit I never duned because the fandom is weird, so I don't really know what we're discussing specifically. I mean, you've probably absorbed a lot of it just through osmosis over the years and decades. Like, it's such a big part of our culture. Like, Star Wars is a Dune ripoff in the first place. Screaming into a phone. We were doing worm memes for any of these fucks. We bought the dip. We bought the dip on Dune fandom. Bing AI wouldn't let me make worm god art. I think you have to use that face swap. I'll admit I never read God Emperor. I don't think I read God Emperor as well. I read Children of Dune, but I don't believe I think I may have started God Emperor and then was like, okay, I think we're good here. It just gets so far beyond. What does that mean, Lotane? What the fuck? Jesus. Saying Star Wars was influenced by Dune? Goodness. Yeah, I read Children of Dune, and it just gets so far away from like what the original story was. I think I eventually kind of lost interest. My wife's been listening to the audiobooks, and she'll talk to me about them, and I find myself glazing over, and for a minute realize the cross she must carry wherever I'm yapping to her about Football Manager save. Honestly, I gotta say, I'm gonna take Clueless's side on this. I think hearing rants about the Lisan al-Gaib or whatever is significantly more interesting, even if you don't know, have any context, than like looking at the spreadsheet numbers of Football Manager stuff. Well, you'll notice that I didn't say it was exclusively influenced by Dune. We all know that there's other influences. Even Lucas would tell you, though, that it was absolutely influenced by it. Okay. All right. Anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing it again. I kind of regretted not being able to stay awake. I think I missed some serious shit, or I was at least like in this like halfway in between stage of consciousness when there was some serious shit going on. And I really do need to sit down and just watch the whole thing again. So I don't want to chit chat too much because like I have a limited amount of time. I have about 3 hours to hang out. There was a lot to talk about, though. I did want to talk a little bit about the Super Tuesday stuff, and we talked yesterday about how like unplugged we are from that. But I think there's even not in the sense of like getting into like the horse race electoralism aspect of the primaries and Super Tuesday and this stuff. I think there's some narratives still that we can take a look at and talk about that are important to discuss, which is this uncommitted campaign in all these like crucial states for Democrats. Tens of thousands of people, these uncommitted campaigns, which came together in like a span of 2 weeks or less in some cases. In all these crucial states, this uncommitted campaign came together and tens of thousands of people were out voting specifically not for Biden, to send a specific message to the Democratic Party. And it's amazing seeing them like cope with this and try and come up with some kind of spin for how it doesn't matter. It is wild to see how furious it makes them. In a primary that doesn't even matter for Biden's election chances. Literally people saying like, you're killing so many kids. I can't support you while you're killing kids. And people are so upset about people in the primary, like Democratic Party voters who otherwise probably would like to be able to vote for Democrats, showing up to vote uncommitted to send a message to the administration that they don't support what they're doing in this specific area. Also, how they say it had nothing to do with Biden and Harris calling for a ceasefire either. And let's be clear about this as well, because obviously it has something to do with it. Obviously it does. But all they've done is rebranded the same thing that they've said all along, which is like having a little humanitarian pause as a ceasefire. Like that's what has happened, like, to be clear. And I know you know that as well, Spooky, but like that is all that has happened. They've rebranded their 6-week humanitarian pause as a ceasefire to try desperately and flailing to undo some of the damage that they've caused to themselves. And still squaring up with the same message that it's Hamas's fault and only Hamas can make it right, and Israel has a right to defend itself. The Dems don't understand that just running the incumbent with no discussion on an issue is wild. And not just on any issue. Like, people keep trying to diminish how don't just vote for this one issue. Oh, this one little foreign policy issue. These purity tests. These people want to purity test Biden. They must like Trump. They must like this. They must like that. They just want to burn the whole system down. They're just having a temper tantrum over this one little issue. We're talking about tens of thousands of human beings that have been murdered. Like, it's not this niche issue. It's not, even though things like universal healthcare, universal education, like jobs, unions, all of this stuff, very, very important and not minor details. But we're not talking about like, oh, Biden didn't do one thing that I wanted him to do that he wasn't able to do. It's something he's specifically choosing to do, which is support Israel while they kill tens of thousands of people. And like Ralph Nader was saying, I think what Ralph Nader was saying yesterday is probably something we should think about, that we're drastically undercounting the number of people that have been killed. It does seem like it's been hung up in like the 30,000 range over the last few weeks now. Is the reason because Israel's slowing the rate of killing people? I don't think that is the reason. Who knows how many people have been buried under the rubble? And this is all secondhand and like anecdotal, but like, How many people have just had their families killed and just buried them in the backyard and not talked to the health ministry or not gone to the hospital and not done anything? We really don't know. But I'm 99% confident that it's significantly higher than what we're talking about. If it's not 50K, I'll eat my shoes. Yeah, and it's still no sign of stopping at all, either. So it's continued. Not only are we undercounting, but it's still continuing. And this whole ceasefire plan that they're talking about, which seems designed to be rejected by Hamas almost ensures that it's going to just still continue. Like they might not even get this ceasefire that they're talking about. How many entire families have been murdered, so there's literally no one left to report family losses to the ministry? It's true. So that's it. This is not some temper tantrum over one small little issue about Biden supporting or not supporting, like, universal health care, for example. Like, we're talking about tens of thousands of little kids murdered. And people keep asking this question, why is Biden doing this? Why won't he change course? Why won't he listen to any of these folks? Why? And it's because he supports it. It's because he supports what Israel's doing. He always has. Through his whole career. And this, as sad and pathetic as it is, this is the culmination of his career. He worked his entire life to eventually become president of the United States. And he's this doddering old man. He doesn't even know what the hell's going on. And he's the front man for one of the most horrific mass murder campaigns that we've seen in our lifetimes. One of the most horrific human rights abuses that we've seen in our entire lifetimes. That's Biden's legacy. And they're really blaming these people that are coming together to vote uncommitted in these primaries that do not have any effect over Biden's position right now. It's literally a symbolic, non-violent gesture within the structures of the democratic institutions that these people claim to uphold so much. You know, and they're saying, oh, it's just this one little issue. No, it's not. And his adherence to continuing a genocide will ensure Trump will win a second term, which may even be permanent if he has his way. Well, that's the thing. I don't think anything's guaranteed. I think Trump is bad enough and Republicans are evil and stupid enough that they may well not win, even with all the ways that Biden sabotaged his own electorate. But this campaign, like I was talking about, is all throughout these crucial states that Democrats need to win. It came together in a few weeks' time, an extremely short amount of time. And tens of thousands of people across all these states, like hundreds of thousands of people across the Super Tuesday states yesterday, all came together to send this message. Yeah, entire bloodlines have been fucking eradicated. And people are really sitting there suggesting, like, oh, these are people just having like a temper tantrum. Why do they care about this one foreign policy issue? Look at the kind of shit that they're saying. Look at these people. These, like, Democratic Party partisan loyalists. Tom Watson, who's of course a big, like, Bernie Bros obsession guy, still with her. In the uncommitted mind, we all have it coming. That's the truth of the matter. Own the libs right into the camps. Then there's the secret desire group, people who pretend to be on the left on here, but who have fully detailed SS uniforms in their closets. They will flip, not really, into vicious stormtroopers overnight and put you up against the wall. That's right, Tom Watson. These uncommitted Democratic Party voters are all secret Nazis. And fucking Tom Watson is not going to be going in any camps. First of all, the camps that he's talking about are already open. They're on the southern United States border. They're all throughout the United States in the prison system. These camps already exist. Tom Watson is some liberal coastal dipshit. Tom Watson is not going to be having any consequences like this. Tom Watson is not going to be going in the fucking camps. Like, this is just pathetic. I can't even read this tweet because Tom Watson blocked me years ago. Jay. Sorry. They should put in one of those dowsing contraptions to bravely walk out front. That's it. I hope Tom Watson volunteers himself to show how brave he is. Volunteers himself for the camps, which again already existed. They affect poor and marginalized people predominantly, disproportionately. Immigrants, refugees, black and brown and indigenous people. It's called the prison system. It's called the southern border. Biden has made all of Trump's southern border policies, has kept them in place. He's kept them in place. The kids are still in cages. He tweeted, "Uncommitted is MAGA." Pass it on. Voting uncommitted in a Democratic primary when the current Democratic president of the United States is in the process of helping to mass murder little kids. And that's the takeaway. They're basically Nazis. They're basically secret fascists. So many LARPers are sad they missed the chance to be a Nazi or killed by Nazis for some reason. It's half the reason the History Channel exists. Yeah. Tom Watson. Oh yeah, they're going to come. The jackbooted thugs are going to come for Tom Watson and lock him up right away. Yeah, I'm sure. He's really a dangerous threat to the establishment. We got to silence this man. We got to silence this man, this dangerous, subversive individual. The stormtroopers are going to come and take him away, black bag him in the night, and take him away. You know, if Trump did do that, I would have to hand it to him, you know? Sometimes he gets it right. We're so close to a first they came for Tom Watson tweet. Tom Watson is in imminent danger. Biden can't win without all our votes. Well, make him earn our votes. So the answer is simple for people like Tom Watson. If you're so scandalized by this uncommitted vote, try and use your influence to get the president of the United States to stop killing little kids. And then maybe some of these folks will get back on board. For many people, I think they're lost permanently. I think Biden has permanently alienated a lot of people. We'll see if it's enough people to cost them the election. I don't know. Yeah, liberals continue to demonstrate why Nazis never came for them in the poem. Look what Biden is doing rather than speaking to these needs of people that are doing this uncommitted vote. And I'm sure you know what I'm going to call up here. What an absolute nerd. Oh yeah, here it is. These fucking guys. Jesus. Here's what Biden's doing. So there's two things to talk about at this election, I think, right now in this whole context of like America's decline. Right? So I think this uncommitted thing is issue number one. And then, so what does Biden do? So now Nikki Haley's out. Now the only person that even remotely had a chance to defeat Trump, which we all know she never had a chance to begin with. Some people maybe talked themselves into it that it was a possibility that some like reasonable Republican, of which Nikki Haley is not, but whatever, was going to win this thing. And now Nikki Haley's gone. It's Trump with all his criminal charges and the looming threat of legal consequences hanging over his head, completely just has destroyed everyone in his path in this election. Anyway, so Nikki Haley drops out, and this is Biden's reaction. Statement from President Biden on Nikki Haley withdrawing from the Republican presidential primary. It takes a lot of courage to run for president. That's especially true in today's Republican Party, where so few dare to speak the truth about Donald Trump. Nikki Haley was willing to speak the truth about Trump, about the chaos that always follows him, about his inability to see right from wrong, about his cowering before Vladimir Putin. Donald Trump made it clear he doesn't want Nikki Haley's supporters. I want to be clear, there's a place for them in my campaign. There is not a place for the uncommitted people, all the hardcore Democrats in these crucial states. There's not a place for them in my campaign, but there is a place for Nikki Haley's supporters. I know there's a lot we won't agree on, but on the fundamental issues of preserving American democracy, on standing up for the rule of law, on treating each other with decency and dignity and respect, on preserving NATO and standing up to America's adversaries, I hope and believe we can find common ground. We all know this is no ordinary election, and the stakes for America couldn't be higher. I know that Democrats and Republicans and independents disagree on many issues and hold strong convictions. That's a good thing. That's what America stands for. But I also know this. What unites Democrats and Republicans and independents is a love for America. What do you think the chances are Nikki Haley is just Trump's VP? I think it's highly I would say that's highly likely chance that she's just the VP. I'm a good 40% further away from ever voting Brandon. It's amazing too. I've seen, and this is anecdotal as well, but I've seen people saying Biden, I'm one of the people that Biden actually canceled my student debt, because there are some people that got significant student debt relief. Again, it's anecdotal. I don't know how many people have this feeling, but I saw a tweet that was Biden actually canceled my student debt and drastically improved my life, and I will not ever vote for him again. If Nikki Haley is VP, we'll get cringe lib articles about how she could be a moderating force on Trump. For sure. For sure. She'll go the way of Ted Cruz. But that's Biden's reaction to this. That's Biden's reaction to this whole uncommitted campaign. It's to rebrand their strategy that they've always had about Palestine, rebrand it as a ceasefire, which it is not, and trying to appeal to Nikki Haley voters who love democracy. Hopefully we won't have to vote for Biden. Well, again, there's a strong likelihood that the man will not even run. I mean, he looks like absolute shit. He looks like absolute shit. Let me actually find...
I better not start the questions. I'll get in trouble.
What's your message for Super Tuesday voters?
Everyone, please move this way.
Super Tuesday, sir. Do you have a message for voters?
Thanks. Come on.
Thank you so much. Thank you all.
This is the man. This is the man that's standing between America and between freedom and tyranny. Don't you feel? Doesn't that fill you with confidence? Doesn't that fill you with so much confidence? This is the man. This whole Project 2024 or whatever it is. This is the man that's defending America. The last line of defense. The last line of defense for American democracy. He looks like shit in the mid-90s VHS way. You can see, like, if it was paused, he's got like the lines on his face from the VHS pausing. They got to be planning to swap Kamala in at the convention. I do feel like that's a strong likelihood. Again, I don't like to make big, bold predictions on this stuff anymore. I do think it's very likely that he wins the nomination and then has to have a medical issue or like is forced to step aside. They've been desperately floating Kamala the last couple of weeks. It seems like they're setting the stage for that. The October surprise. And what, is Kamala going to beat Trump? And they'll say you're racist for not supporting her. Of course, yeah. Of course. Don't discount the DNC's weekend at Bernie strategy. I mean, maybe they can wheel him out on a cart like Hannibal Lecter and wheel him out to the debates, and because like he didn't campaign in 2020, we remember, right? He campaigned from his basement in 2020. This guy is going to cross the entire country night after night after night.
Count on me. You're
campaigning.
Good old Rob to talk you through all this.
The TRRS
This
friendship
man.
triangle as the future of American democracy.
Cutman, thank you for that. Thank you for that. I agree. I agree with that. Thank you for the 30 months tier 1. It's legitimately impressive how she's polling worse than Biden. I was just wildly unlikable. It is almost impressive. Like, you would almost have to try. He's going to have the shakes like Hitler at the Olympics because they have him so juiced up. Fuck. Like, this is the thing that they're saying. Like, this is the democracy is on the line. The most important election. Yeah, the State of the Unions tomorrow. I'm sure that's going to be really great stuff. The October surprise is when Biden drops his shit in his old man diaper in the middle of a rambling, incoherent speech. And it's funny, too, because people say, like, look at Trump's speeches. He's incoherent, too. And it's like, yeah, he is. Yeah. Yeah, you got two fucked up, senile old men running for president. I agree. Although, like we said, Trump seems to be at least, like, not on death's door. Trump is completely incoherent as well. To be clear. And in fact, no one that ever criticized Biden is doing so because they think Trump's going to be better for any reason. No one is doing that. One thing, I've gotten a lot wrong about American politics and American elections since I started like paying close attention to this stuff and talking about it all the time. I've gotten a lot wrong. One prediction though that I feel pretty confident in was when I said repeatedly from like 2018, 2019, 2020 on, if Joe Biden wins the nomination and they manage to put Joe Biden in the White House, then next time it's going to be someone worse than Trump or Trump himself again. And he's going to fail to confront all these big crises. His foreign policy is going to be bad. People are going to be disillusioned. And next time, Trump's going to walk right back in, or someone worse than Trump's going to walk in. And I feel pretty confident that that's still on track to be true. I thought it'd be DeSantis, but he didn't have the juice. I think with DeSantis, we made the mistake of still listening to some of these people that pretend to like be cover this kind of stuff, you know? As soon as I saw DeSantis speak, I was like, oh, of course this guy's never going to win. Look at this guy. This is the least charismatic person I've ever seen in my life. He's literally alienating Gen Z and millennials who carried him in 20 and 22. Gen X and boomers are shifting right and they're following him. I mean, look at all the people that are protesting these events. It's all young people. And like I said, there's a few things you can point to for climate or for student debt or whatever that you can say, oh, look, he did this and he did this. You can argue about whether or not that's enough or not, but it's like the Gaza is a line in the sand for many, many people. and just saying, no, we're not supporting this under any circumstances. They're relying entirely on boomers to sail them to victory yet again. It's literally the exact same thing as what happened to Hillary. Maybe Biden will pull it out because, like, you know, he's not Hillary, and there is an element, as evil as Hillary was, there is an element of sexism, I think, where people despised her, but then they see Biden, they're like, oh, he's not so bad, when they're mostly identical when it comes to their actual policies. But it's the same thing. It's like all these crucial states, you're seeing it in this uncommitted campaign. All these crucial states are sending this message to the Democratic Party. And instead of dealing with it, they're saying like, no, who cares? We're going to get moderate Republicans on board. It's the exact same thing. The exact same thing. Just total insanity. And exactly like Hillary, if he does lose, all they're going to do is blame these uncommitted people and blame the left and blame whoever else, blame anyone but themselves. As always, as is written. It is crazy that Wells Fargo can officially decide that Wendy Williams needs a conservatorship, but our mostly white political rulers are just untouchable. Yeah. Yeah, it's totally good that this guy's the last line of defense for democracy. Killing as many kids as he can on his way out the door. You know, it's really something else. And we can take a look, let's take a look at the actual like uncommitted numbers that we saw. And by the way, folks, it's my last stream of the week this week. If you can, please subscribe. It would be great to get to the sub goal on the last day. You're only able to stream 3 days this week. Or you can tip as well. Tips this week, very, very much appreciated. So if you enjoy this program, if you enjoy tuning into TRRS each and every day, I love doing this show. As you know, I must make the little number go up at the bottom of the screen. So if you can, please subscribe and please tip if you can.
You can count
the tips
on me.
are really, really
good old Rob to talk you through
much
all this.
appreciated right now. So I'm going to keep doing some calls to action throughout the day to see if we can get there. Doc, not so strange. Thanks for the gifted sub. I appreciate it.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
We've got breaking points about this uncommitted thing. Dude Control, thanks for the gifted sub. I appreciate it.
Ryan, let's talk about what happened in the Democratic primary last night, because some of these results were really interesting. Huge shout out to American Samoa.
Yes, Americans. Joe Biden lost American Samoa to a guy who's extraordinarily famous here
In the mainland.
On the mainland.
So Joe Biden lost a primary last night as well in American Samoa, and I have not has anyone actually heard of the guy that beat Joe Biden in American Samoa?
He was embarrassed in a lot of states by the uncommitted vote, basically across the country. We do
Risk Inverse, thank you so much for the $25. Very much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Rob has a voice that soothes my cat and allows him to take afternoon naps again. Thanks, Rob.
It's my pleasure. Thanks again, Risk Inverse.
do not have a speech to show you from Joe Biden, because even though he is running for re-election, he did not give a Super Tuesday
Oh my
victory
goodness,
speech.
Barfcast.
Instead,
Barfcast, thank you for the $100. Good Lord, thank you, Barfcast.
Tip.
Barfcast, I really appreciate that. Thank you so, so much. Thank you. And thank you everyone who supports this program. It means a whole lot to me that there's people like Barfcast, like Risk Inverse, and like all of you fine folks out there that support this show and allow me to do this every day. It means a whole lot to me. Thank you very much.
he kind of stared blankly out at a crowd after mumbling that he would get in trouble if he took questions. It's almost too painful a video to even subject you guys to, so we're not even going to show it, because that would make us complicit in the elder abuse that is being dealt out to Joe Biden. Not that I have any sympathy for him, given what he's doing in Gaza right now. So he kind of gets what he has coming to him, yet it's still kind of painful and sad to watch.
That's for sure.
All right, so let's get to what the voters are doing to him. We can start in Minnesota. Let's put this first one up here. Kind of a shocking to the establishment result in Minnesota, with close to 20% of the electorate
46,000 votes.
Voting uncommitted. This is a campaign.
46,000 votes, nearly 20%. This came together in like 2 weeks. They're going to tell themselves that this doesn't matter? Oh, please, someone gift a sub to Barfcast. Please. Thank you, Barfcast. You will get your emotes back. 19%, 46,000 votes. This campaign came together in like 2 weeks. Oh, these are unimportant votes. Why do all these people in Minnesota support Hamas? That's the question. 46,328 Hamas supporters in
You can count on
Minnesota.
me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Is Minnesota an important state? I can't remember.
I
just
that
can't
had
recall.
about a week to organize itself.
Thank you,
and
Risk
that's
Inverse.
on top of 8% for Dean Phillips,
Yes.
by the way.
More like Hamas soda.
Almost
Thank you.
30%. Just between the two of those against Biden. People were saying, so they spent about $5,000 over the course of a week, something like that, to organize this campaign. Organizers for that campaign were telling me over the course of the week that they actually expected to outperform Michigan, because the phone banking that they were doing was just landing on voter after voter after voter who was telling them, yeah, we're already uncommitted. Like basically it was organic, that it spread from New Hampshire over to Michigan and then into Minnesota. In Ilhan Omar's district, which is number 5 in Minnesota, they'll win at least a delegate. They may win 3 delegates at least across the state. That means the party process in Minnesota is going to send at least 3 people to Minnesota who will be representing kind of a free Palestine, ceasefire, end the war.
I really do have to go to the DNC this year. The DNC is going to be a shit show, and I'm going. When is it? When is it again? What's the date? August 19th. August 19th to Thursday, August 22nd. I'm going. I'm saying now, if we're going to do a TRRS meetup at the DNC in Chicago that week, I'm going to be there.
Gaza vote.
Huge Somali Muslim population, obviously.
It's my B-Day
outside
week.
Minneapolis.
But there was
Take care
also
of.
this,
All the best time to go to the
correlation between
Democratic
age
National Convention.
and support for uncommitted was basically 1-to-1. The younger a precinct was, the stronger the support was. There was one precinct that had something like 80% for uncommitted.
Come to the
That
DNC
must
to
be
see
a fun
Joe
people.
swapped out
So
for
the-
Kamala,
the
who will be swapped
governor
out for Hillary.
addressed
Here's how Hillary
this.
can still win.
We have a clip of that. Let's roll Tim Walz, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz.
About 40,000 votes right now, 20% of the vote going to uncommitted. And we've seen that already in this primary in Michigan. What message are voters in your state trying to send to President Biden? And what do you want to see President
what the
Biden
message
do
is.
in response?
Yeah, look, they're engaged. We're really proud in Minnesota. Civic responsibility. We have some of the highest voter turnouts. These are voters that are deeply concerned, as we all are. The situation in Gaza is intolerable. And I think trying to find a solution, a lasting two-state solution, certainly the president's move towards humanitarian aid and asking us to get to a ceasefire, that's what they're asking to be heard. And that's what they should be doing. We've gone through this before, and we know that now we make sure we've got 8 months. We start bringing these folks back in. We listen to what they're saying. That's a healthy thing that's happening here. But I would note that that the former president lost twice as many votes here in Minnesota to Nikki Haley. And I've seen some of these exit polls out of North Carolina and others. 80% of folks said they're not voting for him who voted for Nikki Haley. We'll get these folks back. I think it's take them seriously. Their message is clear that they think this is an intolerable situation and that we can do more. And I think the president's hearing
Minnesota
that.
also has a large
let's
Hmong
bring back
population
Crystal
that was also
Sagar
the
into the
victims of genocide
conversation.
during Vietnam War.
Crystal, what do you make not only in Minnesota, North Carolina,
Well,
Colorado?
it's interesting, and it's not accurate as well to frame the whole uncommitted thing as just being Arab communities. I think that's a good example of it, right? It turns out it's not just Arabs and Muslim communities that care about Joe Biden murdering little kids in Palestine. It turns out that's like actually a kind of normal reaction to have for a lot of people from different cultures and backgrounds.
Minnesota had the strongest performance for uncommitted, but around the country it was clear.
Yeah, the guy is kind of living in a fantasy world. That's the thing. It's like, are they going to listen? Like I said, what they're going to do is sell their 6-week humanitarian pause as a ceasefire. What's going to be happening in Palestine, though, 8 months from now? That's the question. Is there going to be an actual ceasefire? I highly doubt it. It also leads to the question as well, for people that have been through that now in Gaza, do you now tell them to just go back to the everyday, endless violence and dehumanization and criminality of the occupation? Let's just forget this ever happened. Let's just go back to, because obviously there's no path for them to have a state. Israel has made that clear. They've been abundantly clear about that. So that's what we're going to ask people to do in Gaza. Let's just forget this happened now. Ceasefire. Let's move on. Let's just go back to the everyday violence and criminality of the occupation. Is there going to be any appetite for that? For anyone that's now lived through this like horrific trauma? A temporary ceasefire is going to reveal to the world just how bad the atrocities actually are. If it hasn't already been revealed, like, Jesus Christ, we've already seen enough atrocities to last a lifetime.
That there is like widespread dissatisfaction with Biden and with his war effort. What did you make of it?
Yeah, when you combine uncommitted
and where are people going to go? All of the South has been destroyed, and they can't get permits to build. Like they've destroyed. How much of the infrastructure has been destroyed? How is that going to be rebuilt? But Rob, there was a ceasefire before October 7th. Yeah, of course. The world's only ceasefire where people were constantly being shot and killed and bombed. Other than all that, though, it was totally a ceasefire.
That not all of these states had uncommitted on the ballot, which is why you should consider, the votes for Marianne and the votes for Dean and the votes for uncommitted. I think you should count all of those as basically Biden protest votes, and also whatever other candidates, Cenk and the other unknown candidates that popped up on some of these ballots. So
here's how Cenk Uyghur can still win.
The Minnesota performance is nothing short of astonishing. And I heard this talking point over and over again on CNN, like, oh, sure, Biden lost a few votes, but look at Nikki Haley eating into Trump. It is a very different deal to vote for an actual candidate. And also, by the way, for it to be a lot of Democrats and independents who are voting for that actual candidate, than to have voters taking the time out of their day to show up to directly say, screw you and your disgusting immoral policy vis-a-vis Gaza. I mean, that is extraordinary. With no money. Think of how much money Nikki Haley spent. Mm-hmm. There was almost literally no money spent on this effort in Minnesota. It popped up in a week's time and outperformed by percentages what was done in Michigan. So I think it is absolutely extraordinary. And I do think that you have seen a rhetorical shift from the Biden administration directly because of this uncommitted protest vote. So you saw, Kamala Harris with some more strenuous language backing basically the same policy. But you also see all of the Dem flacks out there, instead of going back to, oh, well,
You
Israel
can count
has a
on
right
me.
to defend
You're gonna
itself.
have good old
Now
Rob to talk you through all this.
King Window, thank you for 40 months, Tier 1, and for all the support through the years. Thank you, King Window.
Line is, well, Biden is working day and night to, try to secure this ceasefire, and he hears them and he agrees with them. So basically trying to gaslight. But you can see there has been an impact and that they are feeling pressure. You couple that with the just abject horror of the Flower Massacre, and I think you do see that they are feeling some kind of pressure from this movement, which will only continue and grow post Super Tuesday. And once again, the results show this is not just a problem with Arab Americans. This isn't just a problem with Muslim Americans or some other narrow demographic group. If you are a Democrat and you want to win the presidency of the United States once again, you need young people to show up for you and not to stay home. And young people are sending you as loud and clear a message as they possibly can that this current posture vis-a-vis Israel and Gaza is utterly unacceptable.
And Biden wouldn't have won without a pretty decent surge from young voters in 2020. I mean, his margins.
He wouldn't have the Senate either.
Yeah.
They bailed him out in the midterms.
One second,
Young
Ryan,
people are
can
what
you
prevented
break
him from
down
getting
the other
crushed in the
states
midterms.
for everybody?
The uncommitted.
Yes, because I know that we have all the other states there.
Do we have the element that we can put up here?
Sure.
All right, so let's run through these quickly. So there we've got North Carolina
Get out of here,
in
dude.
at 13%, which is pretty strong performance, at least as strong as Michigan. Move to the next one. We got Massachusetts coming in at almost 10% with another nearly 5% for Dean Phillips. Move on to the Colorado primary.
8% in Colorado.
Almost 9%, plus then a handful. So you're
we
looking
can
at
just
almost
lose 10% of our
kind
votes in
protest
these states.
votes with
No
about
problem.
10%,
We're going to
there.
pick those up with
And then
moderate
the
conservatives.
Oklahoma primary,
Oklahoma,
almost
10% in Oklahoma
of
as well.
Oklahoma Democrats saying uncommitted, like end this war. And if if the Democratic Party was,
But also 9 and 9 for Dean Phillips and Marianne Williamson.
yes, right,
Which is also a protest vote at this point.
Yes, and so if the party was an actual like power
What was the
seeking
percentage
operation
Trump
that
won
ran
by? I
rationally,
wonder.
somebody
Probably not
like
worth
the guy you
looking
just
into.
saw, the Minnesota governor.
What
Tim
states
Walz,
were
he'd be the
important?
nominee. Probably Waltz. Into the White House. Instead,
dad joke.
Yeah. Do you like that one? No, you loved it. Instead, to Crystal's point, all we're getting is this kind of change in rhetoric. And if you boil down what their change in rhetoric is, it's we are not complicit in this evil. We are just too weak and incompetent to stop it.
Yeah, that's really convincing.
Which is, okay, I guess that makes us feel better about it, maybe. But
we just give Israel everything that they want, and they tell us to fuck ourselves, and there's nothing we can do. Oh, please let me go vote for you now. I think you just fucking convinced me. This brilliant foreign policy of giving these genocidal psychos unlimited resources and cover to kill kids, and just when they tell you to fuck off, when you tell them not to, when you give them advice, you're just powerless to do anything. Oh yeah, please let me go line up and pull the lever for these guys. I know we think we're a world power, but we're just a little small bean, an ooh small bean. We just can't tell them what to do. America would never. Can you imagine America going and telling another country what to do and trying to make demands of another country when it comes to like economic policy or military or any of these other issues? Can you imagine America doing that? It's unthinkable. It's impossible. America would never dream of going and getting involved in another country's affairs and telling them what they can and can't do. Are you serious? Get real. America would never even dream of doing this.
not much of a selling point at all.
Well, actually, this is interesting because in California, here's establishment darling.
Does anyone else find it fascinating how for the first time in decades, both the leaders of the U.S. and Canada have wildly unpopular world leaders in their White House parliament, and somehow they both appear blissfully unaware and incapable of acknowledging this fact, and their old rich white guy ego completely prevents them from seeing their own reflection and or resigning. No humility, no self-reflection, just bro vibes. I mean, it is really empire in decline stuff. Like you couldn't script it better than Joe Biden for like America on the brink of fucking decline and collapse as the guy in that situation. Just doddering around, has no fucking idea what he's doing, while his buddy Bibi Netanyahu kills a bunch of kids in the Middle East, in Palestine. And then you've got the crypto Nazi game show host guy that you thought you defeated last time, who has like 20 serious charges hanging over his head, stemming from his attempt to overthrow the country in the previous election cycle, which apparently just doesn't matter anymore. And it's Joe Biden is the one that's just like, dude, I'm eating my ice cream, Jack. Just sucking down ice creams with Seth Meyers. It is heavy-handed, honestly. Like we talk often about like Verhoeven world and how we talk about Verhoeven's films and how over the top they are. And it's honestly subtle. It's like subtle in terms of the satire element of it. When you look at the Verhoeven films, it's mild in comparison to how fucking absurd the actual reality is. That's what I mean. Yeah, he undersold it. He undersold how ridiculous and farcical it is. And breaking news from just an hour and a half ago. 8 Palestinians wounded after Israeli forces fired live rounds at people waiting for humanitarian aid at the Nabulsi roundabout in the southwest of Gaza City. So they would never even dream of firing on people that were waiting to get aid, except it just keeps happening over and over and over again now. I love how the U.S. saw the effect of gerontocracy on the USSR's collapse and decided to outdo them. I mean, we've talked about the parallels before between the end of the USSR and like the end of like what America's going through right now, and all the like not only the aging ineffectual gerontocracy, but also the nonstop scams, the crypto and sports betting economy. No one able to afford basic necessities, while these people that are in charge are like, everything's fine, everything's better than ever, everything is better than ever. What are you talking about? You're wrong, actually, if you think that things are bad. You're mistaken. There's something wrong with you if you think that things are bad right now. I needed these parlays for groceries this week. 80% of the people I still keep an eye on from high school are involved in some pyramid scheme. Can you imagine these people just getting preyed upon by these absolute grifting sociopaths and playing on their economic instability and their alienation and their lack of community, preying on people to pull them into these kind of pyramid schemes? It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting behavior. If I answered my phone, I'd probably get conned out of thousands of dollars. My phone is just a nonstop. I'm just like getting calls every day from random numbers, messages from like Amazon customer service, people, the job thing. Oh, you're looking for a job? You're looking for a career on like every single messaging service? Yeah. Biden would absolutely be falling for a pyramid scheme. Here's how we get back on our feet, Mac. Have you heard of Herbalife? This is what's going to transform America, Jack. Everyone's going to get Herbalife. You're going to talk to your family and your friends about Herbalife's outstanding products. This is their economic recovery plan. The number of pyramid schemes masked as jobs has made me almost give up job hunting entirely. It's insane. It is insane, honestly. And that's why I mean, when we talk, we've got to talk about electoralism. It doesn't mean because we think we're going to get invested in the horse race shit or think it's this difference between democracy and freedom or whatever it is. But overall, as the overall trend of the empire in decline, I think it's really important to continue to take a look at. Some of y'all don't get it. With a slurp juice, you can multiply. Yeah, okay. Insanity. What is going on?
Adam Schiff, if we put B6 up on the screen, the primary, this is a huge primary election in California. People know the high-profile candidates, Katie Porter, Barbara Lee. Now, Steve Garvey actually did better than Katie Porter and Barbara Lee's margins here, or their percentages here put together. So this goes to the jungle primary runoff type situation. Adam Schiff secured 33% of the vote. I'm just curious, Ryan, Crystal, Sagar, what your take is on, with the Middle East weighing so heavily on Democratic voters' minds. Adam Schiff is a Biden establishment ally, also a conspiracy monger and weirdo. But that aside, I mean, that's a.
I think it's a little bit of an
Elizabeth
Elizabeth
Holmes
thing.
in this California primary. It's very interesting. Barbara Lee, faring terribly. I was actually in California over the weekend, talking to a voter who his primary issue was anti-war, and later in the conversation he said, "I hope Barbara Lee wins her re-election." I was like, actually, she's running for Senate. He's like, what? He's like, no way, that's awesome. That's so cool. It's like Barbara Lee is so screwed. Like this is like her base, and he didn't even know that she was running, which goes to the problem for anybody running in California, that it's just so insanely expensive. But Sagar, what do you make of that?
Well, California obviously is basically a rigged, electoral system. So, let's all be honest around that, especially with the dynamics that you just highlighted. Also, just to pick up on that, we have a shot here of some of these protesters who are interrupting Adam Schiff. And this goes to the question of how that will play out in the actual general election. Let's take a listen to that.
I thought Schiff did a decent job during the impeachment hearings. Yeah, because he's very good at the "how dare you, sir" act, the Sorkin thing. He thinks he's constantly in a Sorkin movie. Like he's good at that. That's why he built this big platform, and was able to elevate himself during the Trump era, because he's good at playing that role. But then you have he's doing his security guys are tackling people that are against genocide at his rallies. He is a Sorkin character, absolutely.
So as everybody could see, I mean, this is going to be an ever-present problem, I think, for many of these establishment Democratic politicians. We covered previously on our show about how Joe Biden is going to extensive lengths not to campaign and college campuses. Pretty humiliating. When you're the sitting Democratic president, you can't go to a college campus. Honestly, Ryan, that may be why he didn't do a victory speech last night, and they're just terrified. As I understand it, they've been contracting some third-party security service to try and screen people before you go in. I mean, once we've gotten to that point, things are not looking good for you. And it is humiliating because you've not only got the votes in terms of uncommitted, but you've also got the physical manifestation of that at every public appearance that you make from here on thus far. So overall, I mean, I'm just coming back to the same Trump issue where Crystal is right. Many of those people who voted in the primary are just probably Democrats. Here, though, we have probably a bigger problem, just given the gap between the policy that would actually have to happen to even get maybe half of these people back in the door. It's very likely that he could, if there is a fatal blow in November, there will be many, many reasons as to why that happened, but it's very likely we can trace a lot of it back to here and to this right now.
A Democrat not being able to go to a college campus,
banning Muslims from your live events. Those other guys are going to ban Muslims.
Florida.
And again, the people that are talking about uncommitted, being all the Muslim communities and Arabs that are voting uncommitted, you deserve to get sent to the camps. It's almost like they want it. It's almost like they get a weird, sick satisfaction. They instantly all their Hitler particles just escalate the moment they think about some of these Arab communities daring to not vote for Joe Biden. They're immediately projecting this weird fucking fantasy onto it. You're going to get deported back to Egypt. They're all Stuart Seldowitzes. Remember Stuart Seldowitz? Your father's going to get deported back to Egypt. They're going to pull out his fingernails and stuff like that. An entire nation of Stuart Seldowitzes.
And underscoring that point, if we could put up B3, and then Chris, I want to get your response to this. The element B3, this polling that shows that even among Republicans, 30% of Republicans want arms shipments blocked to Israel. But 62% of voters who supported Biden in 2020 want the U.S. to block weapons shipments to Israel. Ceasefire and blocking weapons shipments is not a divisive or controversial position.
Why is Schiff bad? He's just an establishment
overwhelming
Democrat.
Majority position of Democratic
He's like a centrist
voters.
Democrat.
Yet it is in
He was
stark
good at doing the
contrast to what
self-righteous
the
"how dare
president
you,
is
sir" thing to
actually
Donald
doing,
Trump,
Crystal.
but he doesn't actually
that's
stand
exactly
for anything
right.
good.
And I continue to bring this up, but I am struck by the poll that found that a majority of Joe Biden 2020 voters say Israel is committing a genocide. I mean, you just cannot possibly overstate the sea change in American politics that has occurred vis-a-vis the view of Israel and the view of our relationship with regards to Israel. And so when you see, the actions of someone like Joe Biden, who's been in D.C. for 50 years,
Sagar's
and
trying
has
not
this
to
view of Israel that
trying to
dates
hold
back,
in the,
hasn't
accusing all these
progressed
people of
since
supporting
1970
Hamas.
and whatever he thought of it at the time. The
Ask
other thing
Sagar what he
is
thinks
that,
about America's relationship with
one
Israel.
of his ironclad rules of the road in politics is you never lose by being too pro-Israel, because there's much more funding on that side. I'm just not trying to be an anti-Semitic comment. It's just a statement of reality, given the funding behind AIPAC and how influential that has been, and how comparatively, there's basically no funding benefit to be gained on the Palestinian side of the equation. And also, typically, the people who vote on that issue are the people who are most vociferously lockstep for whatever it is that Israel wants to do. That particular dynamic may well be changing. I think that's the piece that is different, that Biden and many other Democratic politicians really haven't accounted for. That now you have this very, very impassioned and frankly radicalized group of predominantly, but not exclusively, young voters who are voting directly on this issue. And so I think that's part of, where the disconnect and why they've been so slow to even change the rhetoric with regards to Israel and Palestine, let alone they still haven't changed the policies. So this is a massive issue that, there are videos every day coming out of Kirsten Gillibrand's town hall, so many protesters there, AOC getting chased out of a movie theater because she won't call it a genocide, Adam Schiff getting shouted down at his own victory speech.
And again, the whole thing with AOC as well, and I know AOC has tried to take some stance on this and has tried to support Palestine or whatever. We've talked about how disappointing she's been on that front for a few years now. But again, you can try and say the right thing about Palestine. You can't, at the same time, out of the same side of your mouth, support the president of your own party that's subsidizing the murder of these kids. Like, after a certain point, like, what are you there to do? After a certain point, like, that's what you're in that position for, to stand up to your own party when they're doing something completely fucking evil. And she's not done that. So you can't tell people to vote for Joe Biden and at the same time say, "Oh, yeah, my heart is bleeding for the Palestinian people," when Joe Biden's the one that's like with his finger on the button, the child murder button. You can't do that. And if you do it, people are going to yell at you. I'm sorry to say, but like, that's just what's going to happen.
Every single Democrat is being held to account for this monstrous, abhorrent policy that, again, a majority of their own party says makes them complicit in a genocide. So I think
no,
the
she's not
political
an independent.
landscape
She's in the
has
Democratic
completely
Party.
flipped in a way that many of these politicians haven't accounted for. Just to throw on a couple things specifically about California, don't claim to be a political expert in the ins and outs of California politics. I do want to mention Adam Schiff spent, I think, more money propping up the Republican candidate than he did even on his own campaign.
But she does have influence, though. She's got a huge platform and a huge following.
Another Democrat in the fall because
and she could draw a line in the sand and at the very least, use that platform to say, like, stop doing this. Try to do whatever she can to put pressure on them. But she's not doing that, So until she does that, people are going to continue to yell at her. Like I said, it's like that's what you're there to do. I get the whole argument that you have to like play the game and everything. I've been willing to give people the benefit of the doubt that are in the system, and I get they have to play the game and they've got to shut up sometimes. But like that's when there's a genocide going on, like that's what you're there for. If you're not going to take that stance then when are you going to do it? And that's why I think we see George Galloway in the UK. That's how I think people that are like in working within the electoral system should treat the political elites that control these big parties. She's also not been supporting the uncommitted movement in states with her own squad allies. Yeah, to me, it's been Rashida Tlaib and Cori Bush and maybe Ilhan Omar that have been going really hard on this. You know, and as long as she's still trying to funnel people and support Joe Biden, and she also, didn't vote against the Iron Dome funding. There's been a lot of troubling signs with that. And again, pulling strings behind the scene. I mean, it's a nice idea, but that's very convenient when you can say like, oh, don't worry, I'm pulling all the strings behind the scenes. You know, I'm pulling strings behind the scenes, but when it comes time to actually speaking up and using my platform to say like, Joe Biden, stop doing what you're doing, she's not doing it. So people are gonna yell at her. I mean, that's just the reality. They would be doing it to any one of
course,
us.
in California, he can beat a Republican.
In the same case.
He wasn't so confident he could beat, say, Katie Porter or Barbara Lee head to head. The other thing is, my understanding, based on what I've seen of the messaging in that race, is that none of them really put Gaza at the core of their messaging. And yes, Barbara Lee is seen as generally anti-war, but she hasn't been leading the charge in the way that, say, a Rashida Tlaib or like an Ilhan Omar has. And California also,
a lot of those uncommitted votes are in Ilhan Omar's district as well.
Vote on Super Tuesday was one of the lower ones of the states that actually went for whatever reason. I'm not really sure why.
I think it's also worth mentioning while we're in California that both George Gascon in LA and Jose Garza in Travis County, which Sagar, you're obviously very familiar with, held on to their seats in these pretty competitive Democratic primaries. Not super close either. And that contrasts with the mood of the country back in 2022, where it was sort of like, oh, Democrats are going to have to attack to the center in order to make up from this backlash of 2020. Well, then Dobbs came down, and now we're here, and Israel happened. So I think there's so much going on with young voters in particular for Democrats that if there's going to be a wake-up call, you would think the results that are coming in showing, some seriously alarming drops in enthusiasm for Joe Biden that could affect turnout, could affect his margins, could affect third parties. These would be those red flags, those warning signs. But Ryan, there was a glaring red flag last night in American Samoa in the form of Jason Palmer.
Jason Palmer, I've never heard of this guy. This man defeated Biden in a primary in American Samoa. So I've never heard of this person
Biden
once.
For the delegates from American Samoa, congratulations to Jason Palmer, very, very well known here in the mainland. Let's play a little bit of the case that he made to American Samoan voters.
I'm asking for your support and vote, and would love to talk to you about why I believe I'm the best candidate for American Samoa, a beautiful and diverse territory that needs much more attention and support from our federal government. You're probably wondering, who is this Jason Palmer? I've never heard of him before. Well, in the mainland, I'm actually very well known.
I mean, I can vouch for that, right?
We're always talking about Jason Palmer. Where is he?
I'm like, Jason Palmer, the man.
When he's not on screen, we're always wondering what he's up to.
Where is Jason Palmer? But Brett Baer was really confused in the video. He was like, I don't know who that is.
He's out of touch. Jason Palmer's huge.
And Jason Palmer looks like he's a realtor in suburban Minneapolis.
Palmer
or something.
Squad.
He's got the Martin Luther King.
He's never been to American Samoa
in the background. I mean, it's just like if you were watching the video, he really had a framed picture of Martin Luther King giving his "I Have a Dream" speech behind him. I mean, it was just perfect in so many ways, Ryan.
Yeah, incredible.
In many ways, people are talking about Jason Palmer as the next
Crystal
MLK.
Tiger, are you voting for him?
Yeah, maybe. Absolutely. I'm going to write him in the fall.
He's a very well-known figure,
I've
known about him for years.
Yeah.
He's big on TikTok, I think.
He's electable if you vote for him.
Zoomers
Let's just say that.
It's too good.
The kids love him. So good for Jason Palmer. Very, very exciting. Love Love to see it.
Well, Sagar, I want to toss this last element to you in the block. This is more results out of Texas. Again, I think what the theme of this block, when it comes to
they're calling
how
Jason
Biden
Palmer the
performed last night
Lisan
on Super
Al-Gaib.
Tuesday, we can go ahead and put B10 up on the screen. Just some really
The
some of the
chosen
signs
one.
from the polling that's found Biden starting to flag with Hispanic voters, Black voters, young voters, started to show up in the returns yesterday. Talk to us a little bit about these results.
If you're in line to vote for Jason Palmer,
I had
stay in
big,
line.
eyes in South Texas, just because that was such a big flip that we saw that happened in 2020. In some cases, moving like 40 to 50% of the vote from Hillary Clinton to Trump. What you saw last night was actually pretty fascinating. It's not just Cameron County, but what we tried to highlight there is a lot of the results all across South Texas, where you actually saw a pretty significant, significant protest vote for Armando Perez Serrato, who is a Democrat. He's kind of an all over the place gentleman, but critically was somebody who came out very hard against Joe Biden, said that he was too old, disagreed with him.
Yeah, regime build, I agree. There's been things that I've disagreed with Ryan Grimm. I think he's done I think overall he's a really valuable journalist to have with a somewhat mainstream platform. I'm happy that The Intercept has been doing that research. There's all kinds of stuff about did they credit Gray Zone enough? Did they credit EI enough? Electronic Intifada? I get that. To me, like I pointed this out when we were talking about it in the Discord, I think they've got an audience and it's important that they're on that story, and that's the most important thing. Turning it into this having some big factionalized debate about about them not being good enough or whatever. I think what they're doing now is good. So it's I think you got to take that as a victory that people that have that kind of platform are starting to talk about this. Did they credit Zay Squirrel enough? I mean, I seen Grimm on Twitter retweeting the squirrel constantly. So it's they seem like they do have some kind of synchronicity there. The freaking squirrel. Exactly. Yeah, I think it's important that they're talking about this.
On the Israel policy, went after a lot of the establishment Democrats. That showed me that he was one of the most polling protest vote candidates, but it was localized to South Texas, where he spent a lot of the time actually campaigning on. And I think what it kind of highlights for us here on the show is that regardless of where people are, in Minnesota, we saw some Dean Phillips voters and uncommitted voters. Marianne actually did quite well here in Virginia, where Crystal and I are, in certain places where there were younger voters, South Texas. Everyone is localizing some of their dissent against Biden. And then that comes down to how are they actually going to come out and vote? And if you couple dissent of the existing Democrats and then the Republican surge of 2020 and really in 2022 as well in South Texas, I think that it will fundamentally change the electoral map of Texas such that the Republican suburbs will vote Democrat, but they will make up for it with a lot of non-college educated voters. And I found that really interesting in the results last night.
Yeah, and my understanding from what's going on around there is that a lot of this just feels kind of cultural. The area is just becoming culturally Republican. It's just in the water. It used to be culturally Democrat. You're a Democrat because you live in this area.
Now they put fluoride in the water.
It's the fluoride. I mean, I think some of it is the media, the Spanish language takeover by the right wing of the media. That is dominant there. I think is where kind of you get that in the water. That's kind of what makes the water is what you consume on Facebook and also then.
I think it's a real fucking bummer that the events occurring are happening full stop, but the fact that during the warmest year on record, there hasn't been a single climate-related policy campaigning as far as I've seen. I mean, I was seeing something, Marty, the other day about how Arctic sea temperatures have every single day set a record for the warmest ever this year, every single day. And excuse me if I don't have that quite correct. It's something along those lines. This is very valuable. But yes, and that's the thing. That's the differences. You vote for Biden because they believe in the science. They believe in climate change. Look at Biden's historic climate action. And what's that historic action? It's trying to give tax credits so people buy EVs and it's reindustrializing some of these areas that have been affected by deindustrialization, and building some factories that build EV batteries and solar panels and that kind of stuff. And we look at the scale of crisis that we're facing down. Again, these kind of things, building solar panels and EV batteries in the 1980s would have been fantastic, because now we'd be in pretty good shape. Now, though, it is nowhere near anywhere close to what we need to be doing. And again, you take a look at what China has done in the same span of time in the last 10, 15 years. And you see a nation and a society that's actually meaningfully engaged in the work of doing this transition. That's not what America is doing. It's not what Canada is doing at all. And yeah, barely even registering as a campaign. It's going to be all just Trump bad. It's going to be Trump bad. That's going to be the campaign. We're not as bad as Trump. Oh, you think we failed on climate? Trump's going to be worse. Oh, you think we failed on Palestine? Trump's going to be worse. Oh, you think we failed on the border? Trump's going to be worse. Like that's all it's going to be. The whole next 8 months. It's like when I see companies and politicians saying stuff like, we'll be carbon neutral by 2050. And I'm just like, you're insane. We need to be carbon negative right now. And that's the thing. It's like, maybe if we were actually on pace to be carbon neutral by 2050, we might say like, okay, well, that's something. But we're not, though. You look at a map of the climate, and you can see dotted along this line, the perpetually going up, all the different targets that we've failed to hit. What possible reason would we have to believe that we're going to hit any kind of target about 2050? We're not doing any of the things that we need to do to even hit that target. That's the whole thing. There needs to be a transition, and transitions take time. Like, this is one thing that I've kind of come to accept. As dangerous as it is, if we want to transition to have a more renewable energy system, we're going to still need to use fossil fuels for a little while, because that's my thing. Unless you're willing to like sacrifice your own, like turn your lights off, we don't really have the ability to say to people, okay, well, you should have your lights turned off. You should have like no access to any of these like amenities. We're going to need to continue doing that for a few years if we were actually transitioning, though. But we're not. We're not transitioning. We're not even close. We're not anywhere near on pace to reaching this arbitrary target of being carbon neutral by 2050. And now you have this conservative wave coming in Canada and the United States, who are probably going to go send us back in the wrong direction. So even this target that's being set by our like liberal establishment in Canada, the United States, about being carbon neutral by 2050, because our bullshit Western liberal democracy two-party system, whatever progress we haven't made, and we haven't made any, is going to be undone and reversed now probably within the next 5-10 years. So that's the thing. I would maybe say, like, if we were actually on pace to be carbon neutral by 2050, and it really seemed likely that was a possibility, I would probably say to myself, at least that's something. Maybe it's not enough, but like we're on at least the right path. But I don't think we actually are. I think the idea that we're going to be carbon neutral here in the West by 2050 is insane. I think maybe China will be carbon neutral by that time, because they actually have a plan in place and they're following the plan, and they have a political system which we describe as authoritarian, but they have a political system that's not constantly being destabilized and reversing course and changing course and going fucked up wrong decisions, and then doing, the nonstop chaos and instability and complete inability to like legislate that we have here. As they grant more drilling rights to oil companies. That's what I mean. And again, when you talk about drilling, if it was part of an actual transition, if it was actual part of a transition to a sustainable energy system, that would be one thing. If it was actually way to like lower energy costs for the communities that are around where this drilling is taking place, that would be one thing. We could have that conversation, but it is not. The drilling is being done not to like help everyday people in Canada, the United States, with their energy security. It's to increase the profits of the oil companies, and there's no actual transitioning into a different energy system that's taking place.
Through the Spanish language television. But yeah, is that your read, Sagar and Emily, that it's just becoming just like you just are a Republican? Like, I think this is going to go from a Democratic stronghold to pretty soon being just Republican territory.
Look, I don't think the labels are useful. It's just like the Tejano kind of libertarian identity has been there for a long time. In some cases, longer than even many people who've lived in Texas who are white. So my point is just that trying to apply like national, like it's the right would take over the media and all that, I just don't really think it's accurate. I think a lot of it just comes back to the fact that they truly
West
felt
Virginia is a great
screwed,
example.
By they felt abandoned
it is honestly just a farce that these communities, like in West Virginia, that have where there's so much drilling and coal and natural gas, and the level of poverty in these communities, like that is insane that has been allowed to happen. The fact that these places are so resource rich and producing this vital resource, and the actual people that are there living there, or the people doing the work, are not seeing the benefit of that. Their energy costs are going up, their wages are going down, their lifespans are decreasing, their quality of life is decreasing. That is just absurd. Or these indigenous communities where these pipelines have been built across unceded tribal territory. And what do we say? Like, oh, but there's jobs though, but they get jobs. Meanwhile, these communities don't have fucking clean drinking water. Like, it's just absurd. This is our society, that our deregulated, privatized society, where all of these resources have been privatized, and all of our public services and social services have been cut, slashed. We're living in the wake of that now, and it's just devastating.
Democrats on a couple of key issues. Inflation was a huge one, actually, in 2020. I believe, if I remember, gas and COVID checks were a huge reason why people voted for Trump back then. But when you continue into 2022, immigration had become a massive, a massive issue down there. I mean, not just there, really across the entire country. I think last night we saw as one of the number one things that people
because the media talks about
voting
it
on was their top
That's
priority,
why.
Especially in the Republican Party.
Immigration becomes the number one threat to America every 4 years, every election
it comes
cycle.
Down to, I think, actually genuinely local conditions, and to a broader, more like libertarian aesthetic identity, combined with some cultural conservatism that has existed there for more than 100 years now. At this point, it's a very unique part of the country. I encourage everybody to go if you can. It's a pretty fascinating place.
And there's just a ghoulish segment on MSNBC last night. I don't know if everyone saw this, but it was Jen Psaki, Rachel Maddow, Joy Ann Reid laughing about how, yes, exit polls found Republican voters in Virginia were very concerned about immigration. And Jen Psaki was like, I live in Virginia, come on. And then I think one of them, Rachel Maddow, was like, well, it's very close to West Virginia in this just completely obnoxious way. And, it's worth noting that just a few days ago, a Venezuelan migrant who was here illegally was charged with sexual assault against a 14-year-old in Virginia. So wherever you stand on the immigration issue, it has changed communities all over the country. So I think that was another. I mean, Jen Psaki is still close with Biden World and representative of Biden World.
How many youth pastors have been charged with sexual assault in the last week in that span of time?
You out and talk about Victoria Newland.
I'll let Crystal go.
Thanks, man.
You opened a can of worms with those immigrant
really
comments.
Important.
I'll just say that, I do think that a lot of the concern which we see spike around election times fed by right-wing media is a sort of like ginned up moral panic, not to say that it's not a legitimate issue. And to respond to the MSNBC people, treating voters with contempt is always the wrong move.
Yes.
So perhaps I'll say that as unifying comments rather than starting a shitstorm here. Last two thoughts with regards to the Democratic results. Number one, just wanted to flag that the dude in California, David Min, I believe is his name, who is running to replace Katie Porter in her seat. He had $4.5 million of AIPAC money spent against him in that primary, and he still was able to succeed. and was the top finishing Democrat and will go on to the general election. And one other note about him, this guy is not where I am on Gaza and Israel. He's very pro-Israel, but he was like mildly critical of Benjamin Netanyahu, which, by the way, overwhelmingly Israelis are extremely critical of Benjamin Netanyahu, but that's the reason they poured all these millions into that race. He was able to overcome that. That is somewhat encouraging. So I wanted to put that out there. And then the last note with regards to the revolt among young people. In a number of these special elections where the result really turned on, access to abortion and outrage over the overturning of Roe versus Wade, it was a surge in young people, an unexpected surge in young people in those special elections that helped Democrats secure those victories. If you are dismissing the concerns of these young people, if you are thinking they're just going to get over what they see and what I see as a genocide, you have another thing coming. Shifting your rhetoric is not going to be enough. They see right through it. And that was, I think,
they're going to
very
see right
clear
through
in
this
the
like
results last night,
ceasefire
especially in
ruse
the
that they're
state of
doing.
Minnesota.
Yeah, the Dave min race was fascinating because nobody could really understand why AIPAC was spending millions of dollars against this guy who's not even that critical of Israel. The only thing people could land on is his campaign concluded that they're just trying to soften him up for the general election against the Republican in a swing district, which suggests that AIPAC is moving very much like the NRA did. The NRA was a bipartisan organization for decades, and then as there became some criticism within the Democratic Party, the NRA decided we're not going to be bipartisan anymore. We're just going to be a Republican organization, and it doesn't matter if a Democrat says they support us. We just feel safer over here with Republicans. That we saw how that worked out for the NRA. But when it comes to AIPAC, yesterday, and we're going to talk about this later in the show, Benny Gantz is here in Washington D.C. Mike Johnson declined to meet with him.
Yeah,
so
that was fascinating.
Careful with this alliance with the MAGA wing of the party here, Israel.
AIPAC spent millions against Donna Edwards because she voted once against Israel funding. And I think that sometimes we lose sight of that, right? We think like people that support Israel in the political system, it's because they're taking money from the Israel lobby. Many times they are, but many times it's as simple as that. It's like not that they're even getting money, but it's just like if you say one thing, if you don't toe the line, if you criticize it at one time, they're going to try and destroy you. They're going to try and end you. They're going to pump. They have unlimited resources, and they're going to pump however much they can into trying to destroy you. But again, does that count as Israel interfering in American elections? No, of course not. Of course not. When there's memes or whatever that they think is like coming from Russia, that's one thing. That's interfering in American elections. But a lobbyist institution for a foreign country threatening every single person that doesn't instantly support, fully, unapologetically, unequivocally support everything that they do, that's totally okay. That's totally fine. Totally okay to do that. That doesn't count as being foreign interference. I don't know, folks. I kind of like this America declines framing. I like that. I think we're going to stick with that in our election coverage on here. And by the way, folks, if you can, please subscribe to TRRS. We talked about how dangerous it is right now with the economic instability, all kinds of sick people preying on you, trying to get your money, trying to pull you into some scheme or whatever it is. That's not something that we do here. And in fact, if you support this show and you join this community, you become immune to those kind of schemes and scams. That's why the friendship triangle system is two-dimensional. It is two-dimensional. It's a two-dimensional triangle-shaped friendship, access, and trickle-down cloud tiered reward system. So if you can, please do subscribe to TRRS and help me keep this show on the air. Once again, it's my last show of the week. This week, I will be back on Monday, and next week we got Vijay Prashad joining the show as well. That should be excellent. Also,
you simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Just look at me. I'm an elite member, and I haven't been scammed in years.
Good. Thank you, Joe. I agree. Thank you for the 200 bits.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Just look at me. I'm an elite member, and I haven't been scammed in years.
I don't know why that played twice, but okay. But yes, if you can, folks, please subscribe to this program. Help me make the little number at the bottom of the screen go up. Also, tips as well are very much appreciated, very useful, and I would appreciate that a whole lot as well. If you can subscribe to the show or use the tip function.
Rob. Seriously, wow.
Oh my goodness, Netlock, thank you so much. There he is. The man himself. Thank you so much, Netlock, for the 10 gifted subs. That's really, really a kind of you. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Netlocked. Not a scam. No. Not a scam. You just instantly become an elite member of the Friendship Triangle system.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
You said, VJ, I had to give the people what they wanted earlier than scheduled. Sorry to hijack your schedule. It's all right, Netlocked. It's all right. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you. And thank you, Anon, for the gifted sub as well. Thank you, Anon. And once again, if anyone wants to, there's still time for people to subscribe.
Use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Just look at me. I'm an elite member, and I haven't been scammed in years.
There we go. Thank you very much, Slowdane, for the 200 bits.
We simply
Absolutely.
use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Just look at me. I'm an elite member, and I haven't been scammed in years.
What the fuck's going on with that? It's funny because it says years, too.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
No, look at me. I'm an elite member, and I haven't been scammed in years.
You become impervious to these kinds of scams.
Use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
No, look at me. I'm an elite member, and I haven't been scammed in years.
Why is it doing that? Joe, thank you for another 200 bits. Thank you. Thank you for that. So we're halfway there. We're halfway to the sub goal, folks. And again, if you want to, or if you can, the tips, very, very valuable, very much appreciated this week.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
No, look at me. I'm an elite member, and I haven't been scammed in years.
Thank you, Regime Pilled. Let's hear it again.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Good.
No, look at me. I'm an elite member, and I haven't been scammed in years.
Thank you, Regime Pilled, for the 200 bits. Sorry, Dr. Maggot, it's 200
use the computer to mark
above.
up the size of the account.
Thank you, Dr. Maggot, for the 100 bits. I'll do it. Just look at me. I'm an elite member, and I haven't been scammed in years.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
No, look at me. I'm an elite member, and I haven't been scammed in years.
Thank you, Bleep Lord, for the 200 bits as well. Let's hear it again. Run it back.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Let's run the other one back as well. Let's see it again.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
No, look at me. I'm an elite member, and I haven't been scammed in years.
The bot is just generating hype. It's true. Yeah. So does anyone else, we do have this hype train going now. Does anyone else want to support this program by subscribing or by donating bits? Bleep Lord, thanks for the 420.
Use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Look at all the dancing.
No, look at me. I'm an elite member and I haven't been scammed in years.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Thank you, Bleep Lord. Very kind of you. And thank you, Spooky, as well. Thank you, Spooky, for the 500 bits.
Use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
And thank you, Dimitri, as well, for the 200 bits. Are we going to get him again?
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account. We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
No, look at me, I'm an elite member and I haven't been SCAMD in years. I bought more bits for this.
Dr. Maggot.
We simply use
That's
the
how you
computer to
show that
mark
you're
up the
impervious
size
to
of
these
the
kinds of
account.
scams.
No, look at me, I'm an elite member and I haven't been SCAMD in years. I bought more bits for this.
Thanks for the 200 bits, Dr. Maggot. This is how you prove that you've not been scammed, or SCAMD. I am so scammed. SCAMD.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Look no at me ye ears. Elite member I'm in ye ears and I haven't ye ears scammed in ye ears been.
This is like the end of Metal Gear
We simply
2.
use the computer to mark up the
Tampon
size of the
taste
account.
tester. Thank you for the
Look
200
no
bits.
at me ye ears. Elite member I'm in ye ears and I haven't ye ears
Snake.
scammed in ye ears been.
Snake! Which are better for your bottom line, bits or tips, in terms
We
of how much
simply
the capitalists
use
take
the
off the
computer
top?
to mark up the
It's hard to
size
say,
of the
Plunger
account.
Man. Honestly, the tips are really valuable because I get them right away, and they don't get Twitch doesn't take such a big percentage of them. I do have to make the
We
number go
simply
up every day, though.
use the computer to mark up
I
the
really do in order
size
to
of
have
the
like
account.
kind of like a steady income from Twitch. So I don't know. Really, either or is very helpful.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Ye ears ye ears ye ears they don't stop comin'.
Thank you, Bleep Lord, for the 200 bits. Thank you, Praxid, as well, for the 100 bits.
We simply
Just look at me. I'm
use
an
the
elite
computer
member.
to mark up the
I haven't been scammed
size
in
of the
years. Don't
account.
put in the paper I got scammed.
Ye ears ye ears ye ears they don't stop comin'.
Again, when you're part of this community, you're impervious to these kinds of scams. They can't get you. What's
We
the markup?
simply
The size of the
use
account?
the computer to
more?
mark up the size of the account.
No, look at me, I'm an elite member and I haven't been scammed in years. I love our robot overlords.
Pac-Man Trinity, thank you for the 420.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Stop looking at me now, I'm shy.
Joe, thank you for the 500 bits.
We simply
And thank you,
use
Mistress
the
of
computer to
Insanity,
mark
as well,
up
for
the
200 bits.
size
That's
of
very
the
kind
account.
of you.
No, look at me,
Let's hear
I'm
it
an
again.
elite member and I haven't been scammed in years. I love our robot overlords.
Let's hear it again.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Stop looking at me now, I'm shy.
Good Lord. You know, we're still halfway to the sub goal as well. So people can also subscribe. I appreciate the bits and the bits. I appreciate all of the bits that are going on right now. You can also subscribe and you can do the text to speech like that. What's the markup, the size of the account, Laura? It's from Ben Bernanke, who is the chairman of the Federal Reserve, and he described how money is fake, and that how the state has the ability to just use the computer to mark up the size of the account at any time. They can just change the numbers in the computer at any time, every single day. Every single day, they choose not to. They choose not to change the numbers in the computer. Remember at the beginning of COVID, they changed the numbers in the computer. For like average people, they do it for rich people all the time, but for average people, they change the numbers. That's why they could never do it again now. Uh, 1 minute and a half through this level 4 of this hype train, folks.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
I miss Momo.
Thank you, Diego, for the 200 bits. Same. But then people got angry that other people also
We
got
simply
more fake money.
use the
Exactly.
computer to mark up the size of the account.
I miss Momo.
Momo's still doing very well. Oh boy, a minute left of this hype train, folks. Do you have anyone else that wants to support this program by either bits or comedy bits or subs, or You can tip as well. Still 30 seconds to get through this level 4. Hype train. Some people call it a scam train, but as we know, we're all immune to scams. We're immune to propaganda, and we're immune to schemes and
good
scams.
Old Rob to
and
talk
the like.
through all this.
Diego, thank you for the gifted sub. I appreciate that so much, Diego. Thank you. Well, that was exciting. That was exciting, wasn't it? I'm going to take a short interlude, okay? I'm going to take a short interlude to just like walk around a little bit.
Use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
This damn robot made me think Momo had left a Sag.
Momo's doing very well.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
This damn robot made me think Momo had left a Sag.
Oh, boy. That is
You
very
can
exciting.
count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Okay, let me just take a brief break, okay? I'm going to take a brief break, walk around for a couple minutes, get some water. I'll be right back. All right? Don't go anywhere. Don't leave. You're not allowed to leave.
talk you through all this.
Hello. I'm back. Bleep Lord, thanks for the gifted sub. I appreciate you, Bleep Lord. Thank you for that. Joe, you're busted. Busted. This isn't the Folgers commercial I wanted to see. Sir, are you aware that you've not been drinking regular Folgers, but Folgers dehydrated coffee crystals? What? You son of a bitch. You lied to me! You told me this was regular coffee! It very well might be the best Chris Farley bit. It very well might be. Matt Foley is hard to beat that, but like that's up there as well, for sure. That and the Hairley boy. For the love of God, can we just stop this cruel game and allow the boy to retain one small iota of dignity? Is it so bad to see somebody happy? Let him move in with you. He said he'd wash the sheets. Please don't make me wash the sheets. He's a clean boy. Wash your own damn sheets.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Dr. Magan, thank you for the gifted sub. I appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, that's good stuff.
All this.
Gwynny, thanks for the gifted sub. I appreciate that, Gwynny. Thank you. From moment one, his face. Look at his face. What? Oh. Oh, man, that's good. What a talent. It's just you see his face fall to go from this like bright-eyed, like boyish enthusiasm. And you just see his face fall as he realizes what's happened. God, that's fantastic. That is really great stuff.
Good.
That is an example where the writers had a middling idea and probably made it magic. For sure, yeah, he totally just elevated that into, like, art. What could have been just, like, a dumb throwaway idea. Oh, man, that's so great. That actually hurt my face. YouTube, sorry for the cutout SNL segment had to be trimmed. I don't know what the deal is, like, with YouTube and this. Like, all these videos are on YouTube in the first place. The camera work made it more chaotic, and the music, too. They got that dramatic music going as well. Okay, Dr. Maggot, you got it.
Any comments on Israel? We're asking everybody today. Any comments
Tell them
on
to
Israel?
get the hell out of Palestine.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Remember, these people are occupied, and it's their land. It's not German, it's not Poland.
So where should
Hell
they
yeah,
go?
Helen.
What should
They go home.
Where's the home?
Poland.
So the Jews,
Germany.
You're saying Jews go back to Poland and Germany.
And America and everywhere else.
Hell yeah, Helen Thomas. We used to be a real country. And she retired after those comments. And it's interesting how this is framed, too. Interesting how this is framed. White House reporters Israel gaffe. Like, that's not a gaffe. That's not a gaffe. A gaffe is when you say something like what Biden does, where he says something absurd and ridiculous when he doesn't mean to, or he makes some kind of mistake. That wasn't a mistake. She was very clear. She was very clear about what her beliefs were. Yeah, she retired afterwards. That's not a gaffe. Like saying slub to rib. All those things I do intentionally, though. When I do that stuff, it's intentional. It's on purpose. That's some gaslighting. Oh my, hold touch. Oh my. I don't know about that. I don't know if we can do that. No, all this stuff, I say that stuff just to make you folks laugh. The hot dog, buy it, fall of the hot dog, all the various things that I've said over the years. 100% intentionally designed to drive engagement to the channel. This is how I win. This is how I win. Playing chat like an absolute fiddle. Rob has never made a mistake. Exactly. Thank you. It's called being an entertainer, Sweaty. Precisely. That's exactly right. You fell right into my trap. Don't you feel foolish, chat? God damn. Look at these pathetic razor blades. Only 2 blades on these things. Look how far our society's advanced. Look what capitalism has given us. We had only 2 blades. How was anyone shaving with these 2 blades? Now we got like 4, we got 5, 6 blades. And people say, oh, things are not getting better. Unbelievable. Is this an early goodbye? I gotta say goodbye in about an hour. Oh God, Marty. Oh boy. I gotta say goodbye in about an hour. Go pick up my kid and do some have some fun times. By the way, I just noticed I did like a small grocery like earlier, like right before I started the stream, and I was out of mayo, and I just noticed, I don't know how it, as a mayo guy, as a mayo fan, I have no fucking idea how I did this, but I got whipped dressing instead of mayo. I got whipped salad cream rather than mayo at the store earlier because I was kind of in a rush. I am a mayo man, it's true. Yikes for me, I know, and I deserve that. I need your mayo card. I take out my ankle holster, my little jar of mayo in the ankle holster. Turn it in. Is that somewhere between salad cream and Miracle Whip? It's something like that. I thought salad cream was Miracle Whip. I thought that was like all the same stuff. Anyway, now I got a jar of salad cream. I got a jar of whipped dressing. This is how my week's going. Sweating like American Sicko, looking at his mayo card. We're having to hand it over to the Maythorities. The Mayo police are going to kick down the door. That's how things are going over here. That's how things are going for me. This is Trudeau's Canada. Enough is enough. I want to cream so many salads. I love just dumping a big thing of salad cream on those salads. The many salads that I eat. I should eat more salads. I eat a lot of vegetables, but I do not eat a lot of salad. I don't want to sit here and say that I'm just not eating any vegetables at all. I am. I eat vegetables all the time. I should be making more salads, though. Yeah, they're kind of annoying to make. Then you gotta, you either dressing. I like to make a dressing, but again, it's complicated. That car looks sick, though. The car commercials have changed, but the cars are so much cooler. Other than Caesar, I'm an oil and vinegar guy all the way. Yeah, that's okay. I like to do those dressings with the, like, you put the oil, the vinegar, maybe a little bit of Dijon mustard. You could put in some spices, whatever. That's good. But yeah, again, I don't really make a lot of salads. 100% would prefer to have a car from the 90s. We got to go, like, as I've been saying, we got to go back to making cars rectangles again. We got to make cars rectangles again. And even though I think there's safety reasons for not having them be rectangles, still. Any special sodas? No, I just got I got an AHA. Try granola on your salad. That's interesting. That's an interesting idea. I do like to have a little crunch on there. It's nice to have a little crunch in the salad. It's nice to have a little spiciness in the salad as well. They won't do it though because the aerodynamics makes them able to say in their marketing that they have better gas mileage. Those motherfuckers. Those motherfuckers. This is what they've taken from us. What's going on over here in this one? Aha's decent thoughts on San Pellegrino. I don't often get San Pellegrino. I like the flavors of Aha. Aha is very refreshing. Pepperoncinis and pumpkin seeds. Now we're talking. That sounds like a good salad to me. That sounds very nice. Dr. Maggot, I don't know. I don't see anything. I didn't see it. We talked a little bit about the UN investigation, which now all the Hamas rape gangs people are using as some kind of vindication after all the shit that's happened with the New York Times. We talked a little bit about it yesterday about how all the information that they've got is coming from Israel. But she did a press conference as well, where she literally says in the press conference, it's not an investigation. So they literally just went to Israel, talked to all these institutions that told them a bunch of stories, and they were like, yep, okay, we agree, we believe you. And that's all it was. We already saw this one. Really happy they were so brave to fly over and get Israel's side of the story. And again, all the people that are have been talking about this story, the way the story is totally blown up in the New York Times. There's been this massive scandal over the New York Times, completely in one of the most horrible journalistic crimes, basically promoting this narrative, and people are treating it like it's some vindication, and it's literally just her flying to Israel to talk to the exact same people who told the same things. The very same people who made the beheaded babies nonsense. And that's not Israelis. That's it's the specific groups. The specific people that were promoting that lie. Not believing everything Israel says is Putin propaganda. That's right. Having basic pattern recognition is Putin propaganda. Yeah, I don't even know if... Yeah, and one of the release sausages is going to be the State of the Union. I can't wait for the shout-out. I wonder what Joe Biden's going to say about that. He's probably going to talk about the rape gangs and using sexual assault as a weapon of war and stuff. Biden's probably going to talk about it tomorrow, I imagine. The specific doctor who claimed he saw the babies. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's not the same... It's not the same group. It's the same people. Believing your lying eyes, that's Putin propaganda. Exactly. The girl who got denied candy by a child will be there. Is that who's coming to the State of the Union? Great, yeah. The one who was I was so not sexually assaulted that it was basically like being sexually assaulted. Is it that lady? Good. Maybe Biden should have a Palestinian family that's lost their entire family in Palestine. Maybe you should have them to the State of the Union. How about that? Let's be fair and balanced. Medal of Freedom recipient Stuart Seldowitz. Honestly, the whole Stuart Seldowitz incident is so instructive of the type of people that work in Washington and in these big institutions. The professional Zionists who have infiltrated all levels of government and all these other really important institutions. You see exactly what they think about Palestinians, what they think about other people. Yes, Seldowitz was the guy harassing the Egyptian street vendor who was an advisor to the Obama administration. and sits on the advisory board of Zaka, the body retrieval unit that spread all of a huge chunk of the lies that were told after October 7th. They were the ones responsible for this whole mass rape story and all the bullshit, crazy atrocity porn stories, which our media and our political figures fully ran with as if it was the gospel truth. I keep saying an entire nation of Stuart Seldowitzes. I don't know if there's anything more with Super Tuesday that we want to talk about. There is another State Department press conference. But I can't take too many more of those. Oh, excuse me. Jeez. I am approaching the 3 p.m. sleepies. Hey Rob, if you're down for a little reading series, there's an incredible article in EI today. The author was also on Democracy Now! Is that the article history will remember Gaza as a Holocaust or something along those lines? Oh yeah, there's an interview with her right now. I would say to put on the interview so it's not just me reading. But we can link the piece as well. And to be clear as well, when I was talking a little bit about Ryan Grimm and The Intercept and everything like that, I do think it is important, even though I don't think getting hung up on it or caught up in it is super valuable right now when the focus should be Gaza. I do think it is really important and vital to credit the work that Electronic Intifada has been doing. Gray Zone as well, maybe to a lesser extent. But I hope people understand that despite the fact that I support The Intercept kind of telling these stories and getting involved in this narrative, because I think it's important. I do think it's really important to credit the work that Electronic Intifada has been doing, because I think they're absolutely fantastic. Seldowitz is also pictured behind multiple behind Madeleine Albright vetoing ending the Gulf War. Yeah, you can see how can't believe this guy has fucked up views about the killing of Arab children. Turns out he has a long history of doing just that.
For the War and Peace Report, I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. A UN convoy of food trucks trying to bring 200 tons of food into northern Gaza was turned back by the Israeli military today.
Yet another great jacket for Amy.
14 trucks waited for 3 hours at the Wadi Gaza checkpoint in central Gaza before it was turned away by the Israeli military and later stopped by a large crowd of desperate people who, quote, looted the food, according to the World Food Program. This comes as Israeli forces have repeatedly opened fire on Palestinians seeking to get aid in northern Gaza, killing at least 119 people in the most deadly attack February 29th. Hunger has reached catastrophic levels in Gaza. The Palestinian Health Ministry said today the death toll from malnutrition and dehydration has risen to 18, adding, quote, the famine's deepening and will claim thousands of lives if the aggression is not halted and humanitarian and medical aid is not immediately brought in, unquote. Children, pregnant women, those with chronic illnesses are most vulnerable.
Yeah, when you're intentionally starving people and then you describe that kind of desperation as looting.
Shelling and airstrikes today in cities
it's
across
really
the
sick.
Gaza Strip, including in Rafah, Khan Yunis, Deir al-Balah, and elsewhere. At least 30,700 Palestinians have been killed, over 72,000 wounded in Gaza over the past 5 months. Nearly the entire population has been displaced from their homes.
And like we were pointing out, nearly the entire population has been displaced from their homes. Huge percentage of the infrastructure totally bombed and destroyed. So after this ceasefire that Biden's going to try and sell to people, to try and like get people back on board with the coalition, after this ceasefire, where are they supposed to go? Where are these people supposed to go? They don't have an answer for this question.
For more, we go to Cairo, Egypt, where we're joined by Susan Abu Hawa, a Palestinian novelist, poet, and activist, author of several books, best known for her debut novel, Mornings in Jenin, an international bestseller translated into 32 languages, considered a classic in Palestinian literature. She's the founder and co-director of Playgrounds for Palestine, a children's organization, and the executive director of Palestine Rights Literature Festival. She just returned from Gaza after spending 2 weeks there, as now in Cairo. Susan, welcome to Democracy Now! If you can talk about what you saw. You have written, some are eating stray cats and dogs, which are themselves starving and sometimes feeding on human remains that litter streets where Israeli snipers pick off people who dare to venture within the sight of their scopes. The old and weak have already died of hunger and thirst. Describe your trip.
So that part of the essay is in the northern region where nobody really is allowed to go. Trying to venture into the north is a suicide mission. There are tanks and snipers positioned, and anyone trying to get there is basically killed. As you just mentioned, aid trucks are not getting in either.
And this is why I have no patience for anyone that's still being squishy on this in any way.
It's an intentional starvation, basically. I was primarily in the south, in Rafah. I was able to go to Khan Yunis and to Nusayrat and a few other places in the middle region, but that became increasingly more dangerous. I want to say that the reality on the ground is infinitely worse than the worst videos and photos that we're seeing in the West. There is beyond people being buried alive en masse in their homes, their bodies being shredded to pieces, these kinds of videos and images that people are seeing. Beyond that, there is this daily massive degradation of life. It is a total denigration of a whole society that was.
And again, just like, this is why when we talk about this whole uncommitted thing and people try and frame it as being some kind of temper tantrum or purity test or something. Why are you just voting about this one issue? I saw Whoopi Goldberg on The View being like, don't let this one issue affect every other issue. It's like, it's not just one little issue. It's not like, you're not talking about healthcare reform or like whatever, like any kind of like economic issue like that, which are not minor issues in and of themselves. But like we're literally talking about a genocide. We're talking about one of the worst, most horrific crimes of modern history. It's not just one little minor issue that people are getting hung up on.
was once high functioning and proud.
Whoa.
Of a whole society that was once high functioning and proud.
Is that supposed to be that short? Kind of gets cut off quickly there.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, a Palestinian novel.
As you just mentioned, aid trucks are not getting in either. They are intentionally stopped, and it's an intentional starvation, basically. I was primarily in the south, in Rafah. I was able to go to Khan Yunis and to Nusayrat and a few other places in the middle region, but that became increasingly more dangerous. I want to say that the reality on the ground is infinitely worse than the worst videos and photos that we're seeing in the West. There is
This is going to have reverberations for years.
Beyond,
like I've heard people talking about the Arab Spring and how the Arab Spring was like, a little less than a decade after the invasion of Iraq, and was targeting all these like regimes that had failed to like hold the U.S. accountable or had been complicit in it. Like the political ramifications of this, like not just right now, but like 5-10 years from now. I think none of us have even begun to reckon with how transformative that's going to be.
People being buried alive en masse in their homes, their bodies being shredded to pieces, these kinds of videos and images that people are seeing. Beyond that, there is this daily massive degradation of life. It is a total denigration of a whole society that was once high functioning and proud, and has basically been reduced to the most primal of ambitions. Being able to get enough water for the day or flour to bake bread. And this is even in Rafah. And the people in Rafah will tell you that they feel privileged because they're not starving to death, while their families in the north, the ones that they can reach, because Israel has basically cut off 99% of communication. What remains are basically communications by people who have set up some ingenious ways to keep internet in the north. But most people in the north have no idea what's happening. As a matter of fact, at one point, I'm sure you all know Bisan Odeh, who is on Facebook. She explained to me, she often goes up to the border between Khan Yunis and the middle area in the north where you can't go beyond. And she explained to me that an aid truck that sort of pushed its way through but was eventually fired on, had people came up and ran up thinking that the war was over and people were returning to the north. So most people in the north are in total darkness and hunger, and really have no way of communicating, no way of figuring out where to get food. And it's, what we're hearing on the ground.
And you have fucking absolute losers like Tom Watson being like, oh, we're going to be in the camps because of these undecided voters. Me, like affluent liberal commentator and Democratic Party partisan. Oh, we're going to be in the camps. Look at what we're doing. You're complaining about camps, the Trump camps. Look at what the fuck we're doing to people. What we're doing to little kids. And again, we're talking about the camps on already, not even talking about Gaza, talking about the camps on the southern United States border, talking about the camps in the vast, barbaric United States prison system. But like, you're really like, this is what having absolutely no internationalism or no empathy whatsoever. Everything's been replaced by this like partisan brainworm. That's all you care about. Oh, I'm Mr. Affluent liberal commentator. I'm going to be the victim of fascism if you don't vote for Joe Biden. If we don't vote for Joe Biden, America might become fascist. Can you imagine? Ask the people in Gaza whether they think America's fascist or not. You know? Ask what they think about whether America is fascist. Oh, but no, it's Tom Watson and the liberal commentariat. They're the ones that are going to really suffer under Trump. Give me a fucking break. Yeah, it's a modern Holocaust that's happening right now, being completely subsidized 100% by the Democratic president of the United States.
It's surreal. I mean, it's dystopic. What I witnessed personally in Rafah and in some of the middle areas is incomprehensible. And I will call it a Holocaust, and I don't use that word lightly, but it is absolutely that.
Susan,
the stories I heard from people are... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. No, Susan, I wanted to ask you, you write in your article, at some point the indignity of filth is unescapable. At some point, you just wait for death, even as you wait for a ceasefire. But people don't know what they will do after a ceasefire. Could you talk about that, even if there is a ceasefire, the level of destruction that the people face now in terms of being able to rebuild their country?
I mean, that's how much people have been reduced. I mean, the ceiling of their hope at this point is for the bombs to stop. And, you know, everybody wants to go back. They talk about pitching a tent on their homes and figuring things out. But a lot of people are trying to leave. There is a brain drain, basically. Those who can afford it, those who can raise the money, those who are able to get jobs elsewhere, who have professional skills, are trying to leave. They have children. All the schools have been destroyed. College students have nowhere to go. It's, you know, what's happening to people isn't just this death and dismemberment and hunger. It's a total denigration of their personhood, of their whole society. There are no universities left. Israel intentionally bombed schools and blew them up, presumably to ensure that rebuilding could not take place, that reestablishing a society cannot take place without the infrastructure of education, of healthcare, and basically foundational structures for buildings.
Susan, I wanted to follow up on what you said about a Holocaust, and you also use the term genocide. And you say genocide isn't just mass murder, it's intentional erasure. Can you take that from there?
Exactly. I mean, like I said, one of the things that Israel has been keen to do in Gaza is to erase remnants of people's lives. So you have, on an individual level, homes complete with memories and photos and all the things of living. And I'm sure you know Palestinians typically live in multi-generational homes. We're not a mobile society. And so these homes have several generations of the same family completely wiped out. On a societal level, you have, Israel has targeted places of worship, mosques, ancient churches, ancient mosques. They've targeted the museums, cultural centers, any place that libraries, any place that has records of people's lives, has remnants and traces of their roots in the land, have been intentionally wiped away. It's really frustrating for us to read Western media talk about Israel's targeting Hamas and whatnot. They're not. This is always, and when you're on the ground, you understand this has always been about displacing Palestinians, taking their place and wiping them off the map. That has been Israel's stated goal. I mean, even in this instant and before, in 1948, it has always been their aim to destroy us, remove us, kill us, and take our place. And that's what's happening now in Gaza. It's what happened in 1948, in 1967, and every new Nakba, every new escalation is greater than the one before. And here we now arrive at a moment of genocide and Holocaust because the world has allowed Israel to act with such barbarity, with impunity.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you also, you mentioned what the world's
and I should
reaction.
say, for the political figures and the people in the media or whoever else that have supported this is how history is going to remember them, as genocide supporters and proud, unapologetic supporters of apartheid and just one of the most horrific mass murder campaigns that we've seen. People like Jesse Brown, for example. We're going to get to him in a few minutes.
More people have died in Gaza in less than 5 months than have civilians that have died in Ukraine in over 2 years in the war in Ukraine. And Ukraine is 40 times the population of Gaza. I'm wondering your sense of the failure of especially of the Western nations of Europe and the United States to act.
The Western world has lost any semblance of moral authority, if they ever had any, or I think that maybe there was an illusion of moral authority previously, but I think what we have always known is that we are dealing with genocidal colonizers, but I think that is more apparent to the rest of the world at this hour. And I think what's also happening is that Americans are coming to understand increasingly, though not nearly enough, that they're being lied to.
And we're going to take up that issue in part 2 of our discussion, which we'll post at democracynow.org. Susan Abu Hawa, Palestinian.
Is there a part 2? I don't see it. I don't see it. Anyways, still a really, really powerful and important interview. And again, please check out the interview on Electronic Intifada. I should really try and get on some of the EI folks onto this show. I think it's about time that I do that, isn't it? I should reach out to, I have had John Elmer, but I think I am going to reach out to Ali Abunimah about getting him to come on the show, because I think that would be really fantastic to be able to speak to him. And I do follow some of the other folks from Electronic Intifada, so I think that's something that I'm going to work on in the next couple of weeks to get them to come on here. So we're talking about like the Holocaust, the genocide that's happening here. And again, look at Jesse Brown, who built up a whole independent media empire in this country, and has now Jesse Brown will forever be known as a proud supporter of genocide and apartheid, and just an extremely bad faith lying propagandist on the part of, on behalf of the brutal, horrific Israeli government. So let's look at this incident here. This is in Montreal, hometown story. After 75 years, let's listen to this.
All of you are finally going to get kicked out of Palestine. Just like the Israeli war cabinet, he can see the end of Israel with her own eyes. The state of Israel will be dismantled very soon, and all of you will be settled, looking for a place of refuge, just like when you came into Palestine.
So after 75 years, all of you are finally going to be kicked out of Palestine. The state of Israel will be dismantled very soon, inshallah, and all of you will be settlers looking for a place to take you, just like when you came to Palestine. Jesse Brown. This is how Jesse Brown, objective, serious journalist and media critic Jesse Brown, this is how he frames that to his followers. Protesters in Montreal cheer for the ethnic cleansing of Jews last night. This is where this protest was taking place. And it was at a synagogue. And is that what is happening? Is that what's happening? Are protesters cheering for the ethnic cleansing of Jews? This is what's going on. This is what that protest was about. Was a real estate in Israel mega event of the year coming to North America, Toronto, Montreal, Tuesday, March 5th. This is an event at a synagogue promoting the purchase of real estate in Israel. That's what they're protesting. While there's a genocide going on. Like, think about the interview that we just looked at. How Gaza resembles a Holocaust and the absolute inhumanity that we've been subsidizing. The violence and the mass murder and the mass amounts of destruction. Entire families wipes out. Entire lives ruined forever. People maimed and starved intentionally. And then they're holding this event while this is going on to promote Israel and to promote the idea of purchasing real estate in Israel. And that's what those people were protesting. And when they were saying, you're going to be kicked out of Palestine, they're talking to people that are looking to become settlers in Israel while they're promoting this genocide. And then Jesse frames that as protesters cheering for the ethnic cleansing of Jews. That's how he frames that. And again, all the work that Jesse Brown has done building up this media institution, in promoting independent media, promoting himself as some kind of media critic. This is what he's going to be known as. Like all the same people that we look back that supported apartheid up until the bitter end. That's Jesse Brown. That's what he's going to be known as forever. Just an enthusiastic supporter of genocide and apartheid, using every bit of his platform, every fucking dirty, underhanded trick that he can to drum up support for this genocidal, disgusting place. You know, he's just been nonstop with this the last couple of months. And he had the audacity to clip me and Justin Potter and John Elmer talking about him in his episode where he wanted to address the idea of whether he's a Zionist. First of all, of course he's a Zionist. Just look at what he's been doing with his platform the last 5 months. But Jesse, if you're going to clip segments from this show to put in your podcast, maybe you should listen and fucking learn something next time. He's a liar. He's just a lying propagandist. That's what he's going to be known as. That's his legacy. And this is the last thing, this UN expert. The press conference that she did.
Seeking specialized treatment, they're too traumatized. How do you know that? Who told you that they're seeking?
I'm sorry, I cannot disclose that information.
Okay. Then my other questions, and forgive me, because I feel like with this report I'm now a little bit more confused than I was before I read it. I noticed on social media that you had met with a Zaka volunteer. His name's Yossi Landau. Yossi Landau has been in the media. He was in the New York Times investigation that has been through the shredder at this point as far as figuring out what's accurate and what's not. In this report, you mentioned that there was a media report about a woman who was pregnant, her stomach was ripped open, the baby was ripped out, it was stabbed, the umbilical cord. That story came from Yossi Landau, who on social media you can see on their Zaka Instagram page you met with. So when I see that, and then I read this report, I'm lost. To what extent do I believe this? This isn't an investigation, but it kind of is. So then how is this any different than the New York Times story if you're just collecting evidence? I'm just really trying to, I mean, if I'm not being clear, please let me know and I'll try to.
Well, you are indeed not very clear, but
what wasn't clear?
Well, I mean, I don't get the gist of the question. I mean, I think my report is pretty straightforward.
Well, we
explained that we went to 4 different locations based on.
But my question is, you met with Yossi Landau.
Yes,
he's the creator of that.
I will. I get your
known
question.
liars.
I mean, first of all, because you're talking about social media, yes, indeed, you've seen the photo, and it was at Kibbutz Be'eri. It was at Kibbutz Be'eri, and if you read the section of the report, starting with paragraph 62, we say what we have been able to verify, and that we went there because of the attention paid to Kibbutz Be'eri and sexual violence. And I have mentioned in my report at least 2 allegations previously reported that we found to be unfounded, and we explained that it's due to either new superseding information or inconsistency in the information gathered, including first responder testimonies, photographic evidence, and other information.
First responder testimonies.
I give two examples. Yes, we found it to be unfounded.
Can I just follow up really quick, please? The reason I'm asking this is because
first responders like these
there are
people that
real
lie.
consequences to this report. I mean, I know you keep saying the Commission of Inquiry, they need to go and do their investigation, which I believe they're doing, but the Israeli ambassador to the UN has said publicly, we're not going to cooperate with that. So that recommendation is already DOA, I guess you could say. Are you at all concerned that this report, sexual violence against women, this is being weaponized as a way to continue violence in Gaza? That's why I'm asking these questions, because this is an important report.
Well, I understand that the invitation to me came as a result of pressure from civil society organizations in Israel and academia. And I do hope, and I can tell you that when I was there, no one told me it's too little, too late, or you came too late. On the contrary, many interlocutors told me, we are still mourning. Why are you here? And why this narrow focus on sexual violence?
We're still mourning while we kill tens of thousands of people. Why are you making us talk about proof and evidence for some of these claims that we've been making? We're still mourning. That's how, when we're deeply upset, that's how we act. We kill tens of thousands of people and tens of thousands of little kids. And now you have the audacity to ask us to verify some of these claims we've been making?
And everywhere, throughout the report, you see that I mentioned that could not be verified, and so verification would entail a proper investigation.
So what is
and
the purpose?
I hope that the relevant stakeholders in Israel would pick it up and put pressure on their government to have a fully fledged investigation that would be able.
You're putting pressure by putting out this UN document that says these claims are credible despite no evidence of that. And that's going to put pressure on them to investigate it more. Why would they do that? Why would they investigate it more when you're just whitewashing the lies in the first place?
To cast real light on what really happened or close to get as close as possible to what happened. And I fully agree with what you're saying. I mean, that is why, in spite of not being an investigation, I did not want to go and to rubber stamp anything that's given to me. And I took the trouble of including, I'm a small office, I am almost totally dependent on extra budgetary resources, but still found it necessary to equip myself with some expertise that included a forensic pathologist and a digital analyst.
Jesus. We already know that they can't put together a proper investigation because this preliminary investigation said it's impossible to gather forensic evidence at this point. Yeah. And it is all from Israel. Yes, it is. I got another couple minutes. Another couple clips to get through here. I've queued up the Marjorie Taylor Greene thing as well.
Is in some cases because of the Israeli war cabinet. Is that acceptable?
There's nothing acceptable about the dire situation on the ground in Gaza in terms of the
That's why we're fully
lack
supportive
of food, lack of water, lack of medicine, in some cases a lack of fuel. That
Look at them.
shouldn't be
They're
acceptable.
like, these journalists are actually trying to corner him on this. It's not acceptable. We know Israel is the one that's preventing this aid from getting in, but there's just nothing we can do.
To anybody. So short answer to your question is no, it's not acceptable, and that's why we continue to work with our Israeli counterparts. As I said
We're
in my
working
opening
with
statement,
them.
and you've heard the president say as well.
We're repeatedly
and the
asking them to stop doing the stuff that they're doing, and they're not doing
open
it.
up more crossings and allow more aid in.
Does the administration still believe it's more effective to withhold public criticism of Netanyahu in order to have more sway in private? And is that private sway waning?
I don't think I'm going to accept the premise of that question. I mean, we have been nothing but candid and forthright.
Oh, yeah, they've
private
been so
with our
forthright.
Israeli counterparts, and certainly in public in the comments that we have made. And you've heard again from the president and the vice president just recent
They're so
days,
concerned.
expressing very clearly what our concerns are with the
Oh, they've been
humanitarian
so
situation
they've
there,
expressed
and
their
how
concerns
it is
so many times,
unacceptable,
folks.
and how we need the Israelis to step up and do more.
The president and the vice president, and you, for that matter, have both said that the situation with getting aid into Gaza is too difficult. The vice president said that Israel needs to allow
There's
more aid
no
in.
possible way to stop
no
bringing
excuses.
semi-fulls of American munitions they've been
What
paid for.
is preventing the president from communicating to the Israeli government that if they don't allow aid, we will not continue supplying
That's
weapons?
an interesting
Why
idea.
is that not a fair trade?
What an interesting, crazy
No
idea.
aid, no bombs.
Because the president still believes that it's important for Israel to have what it needs to defend itself against a still viable
There we go.
Hamas threat. Maybe some people have forgotten what happened on the 7th of October, but
There it
President
is.
Biden has not.
How does keeping aid out of Gaza contribute to Israel's right to defend itself?
Keeping aid out of Gaza is not the right thing for any purpose. It's not about...
These
it's just,
fucking
it's
monsters,
just not
man.
acceptable on the face of it, as I told Selena. And that's why we're working more than any other country, by the way, to increase
no.
the flow. I
More
mean,
than
it is
any other
US
country.
aircraft
You're the
that are
ones
dropping
helping them do the
this food
genocide.
out of
sir.
the sky in the last couple of days.
Yes, but you keep saying, and you said yesterday, the holdup, that the problem is the lack of capacity being delivered on the ground. And that's the Israelis and to some extent the Egyptians, but mostly the Israelis. How is that? And you said it's not acceptable earlier.
But you're looking at this as a zero-sum game. Like, yes, you are, sir. It's, well, if they're not doing what you want, then cut off the aid so they can't defend themselves.
that's right.
That's not the way we're going to do this. It's not the way
Well,
we have
too
done this.
fucking bad.
They have a right to defend themselves. They need the
They don't have a right to
Let me
defend
finish.
themselves.
They need the capabilities to do that.
Even if you once had this misguided, untrue idea that they have this right to defend themselves. We've talked about this endlessly for years now on this show. Even if you did at one point think that on October 8th or whatever, surely you can see now for the last 5 months, they've not been defending themselves. They've been taking these bombs that you're giving them in the name of providing them with the means that they need to defend themselves. They've been taking these bombs and dropping them on residential neighborhoods and racking up a historically brutal, grotesque body count of like civilians in general, but women, children. I mean, even when you talk about women and children, you're downplaying the men who also are civilians, who also don't deserve to be murdered en masse either. But like, maybe on October 8th, you might be able to say this. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with this idea, but Israel's right to defend itself, because I'm not a fucking moron. And I understand what the right of Israel to defend itself has looked like historically, and just even over the last couple of years. Numerous examples of this now for as long as I've been paying attention to this. Even if you did at one point believe this, though, surely now, 5 months into this brutality, this absolutely horrendous brutality that we've seen, it should be clear that they're not interested in defending themselves. They're not defending themselves. Whatever you want to say, whatever rhetoric you want to use about it, they're taking the weapons you're providing them and they're mass murdering tens of thousands of people. And as he's almost admitting, intentionally starving people as well. Like, it's clear to anyone that's been watching this that there's no interest in them defending themselves. As we pointed out yesterday, they're murdering their own hostages and putting their own hostages in danger more than Hamas is. That's what they're doing with the weapons. They're not defending themselves, so they can't continue to say this. It makes no fucking sense.
There's aid that's desperately in need. And you know what? We can do that too. We can do both. Both are important, and both are going to be pursued by this administration.
You can't do both.
I know you don't approve of necessarily the policy choices that we've made, but
I'm just asking questions.
But
piece
I'm
of
answering
shit.
them. We can do both. We can influence our Israeli counterparts to do more, to be more careful, to let more aid in, and we can continue to work to get that aid in ourselves.
One more follow-up then. Israel, according to
These
Israeli media,
motherfuckers, man.
the Israeli Defense Forces and industrial base are ramping up or preparing to ramp up domestic production of weapons that are currently U.S. supplied, including dumb bombs, firearms, that sort of thing, to be commenced next year, 2025. Is the president concerned that this would lower U.S. leverage, and is there a window that's closing during which the U.S. has the leverage and influence to get the Israeli government to do certain things with respect to human rights, for instance, allowing more aid into Gaza?
The president's concerned, as I said, about Israel being able to defend itself against a still viable threat. We'll let the Israelis speak to their defense industrial base plans and intentions. They're a sovereign country. They get to make those decisions, and we respect that. They're also a key ally and a partner, and we respect that alliance and that partnership as well. The other thing that's keeping the president up at night is the humanitarian assistance and the humanitarian situation on the ground in Gaza, and that's why he has ordered these airdrops. That's why we continue to urge very, very
But please vote for Biden.
Israelis
It's
to
so
open
important
up
to
more
vote for
crossings on the
Biden.
ground to supplement.
If you don't vote for
to
Joe Biden,
supplement
the
the
real
aid that's
bad guys
already
are gonna
getting
get
in
it.
and to try to improve what's not getting in. And that's why, as I said in my opening statement, the president also has the team looking at maritime options.
Jesus Christ, these fucking people.
You to go talk about Jewish space lasers, and really, why don't you fuck off? How about that?
Thanks. Thank you very much. Marjorie, thank you so much. The news agents in from London. What do you think the message should be to Nikki Haley tonight?
Well, we've been encouraging her to drop out and support President Trump, and I think tonight is the clear message that President Trump is the clear front runner. He's the winner in our Republican primary, and it's time for Nikki Haley to drop out and support him.
Do you think President Trump, Mr. Trump, is closer to picking his VP, and should you be on that list?
Oh, that's the question everyone asks, and no, I don't think Nikki Haley should be on the list, but of course President Trump will choose who he wants for VP.
Would you like to be on that list?
He's got a long list. I support President Trump in any way he'd ask me, but I can assure you it won't be Nikki Haley.
And can you tell me why so many people that support Donald Trump love conspiracy theories, including yourself? He seems to attract lots of conspiracy theorists.
Well, let me tell you, you're a conspiracy theorist, and the left and the media spreads more conspiracy theories. We like the truth. We like supporting our Constitution, our freedoms, and America first. So,
what about Jewish space lasers? Tell us about Jewish space lasers.
No, why don't you go talk about Jewish space lasers? And really, why don't you fuck off? How about that?
Thanks. Thank you very much. Thank you.
The new.
Okay. Yeah, 2024 is just going to be absurd. It's just going to get dumber and dumber and dumber and dumber. And I'm pretty sure the news agents is not like the left. I'm a British journalist from the news agents. I'm almost entirely certain it's not some left-wing media organization. MGT correct here. I'm in the let them fight camp, I think. Let them fight. I got to get going soon, folks. I got to get going. I'm going to go pick up my kid in about 15 minutes. It's my last stream of the week. 12 measly subs away from the goal. One final time, if you enjoy this program, if you've been tuning into this program today or yesterday or the day before or the week before or the month before or the year before or the 4 years prior to that, it's been a long time doing this show. If you enjoy tuning into this program, please subscribe. I got 12 subs to go. Help me get across the finish line. You can also donate bits. You can tip. Again, the tips are also very, very helpful and very much appreciated. If you can, please support TRRS. Once again, it's my last stream of the week. I will be back on Monday. For a full week. We got Vijay Prashad next week. Vijay's coming up. If you can, if possible, please subscribe. Help me drag my tired ass across the finish line for today. I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist myself as well. Yeah. No, I agree.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Spell check. Thank you very much for the gifted sub. Very kind of you, spell check. Thank you for that. And just a measly 11 to go, folks. A measly 11 subs to go. Remember, it's the last stream of the week. I will not be bugging anybody about subs or bits or tips or whatever for the rest of this week. It's your last chance this week to support TRRS and support this community and help keep this show on the air, because it is the only way that I can continue to do this show each and every day is if people subscribe to the program. Oh my goodness, Strong Bad Emails. Thank you for the 1,000 friend coin. That's so kind of you. Thank you for that. So many images of me dancing on here. I don't know why those are playing twice. That was very kind of you, Strong Bad Emails.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Ryalan, thanks for the gifted sub as well. Very, very cool. Thank you, Ryalan. Subs, bits, tips. Subs, bits, tips. Subs, bits, tip. I thought I could do it. I went into that with a lot of confidence. And I could not do it. Hapless blogger fooled again. It's true. Folks, only 10 subs to go. Do we have 10 brave heroes that are going to come through and help me get to the sub goal today? Or 2 brave heroes? Or just 1 extremely brave hero? There's a number of different combinations that we could do here. Do we have 10 brave, selfless TRRS soldiers out there that can subscribe to this program and help me meet the sub goal for this week? I got to go in about 10 minutes. I got to be out the door in about 10 minutes. Any moment now. Can confirm the more heroic your action, the more your clout will swell. Exactly. May thy clout not chip nor shatter. Would it be fair to say that we're soldiers of God, perhaps? Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. I think that's totally fair. That's absolutely fair. Folks, only 10 measly subs to go. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Only 10 to go. We're almost there. I'm sure the pipes are just getting clogged. Oh, Danny boy. The pipes are clogging. I don't know that song at all. I don't know what the melody is. That was fully just improvised. I really don't know how to sing that song like at all.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob.
Comrade
to,
Bushy,
talk
thank you for the 3
this.
gifted subs. Always coming through and bailing me out, Comrade Bushy. Thank you very, very much. For the 3 gifted subs, only 7 to go, folks. Only 7 measly subs to go. Thanks again, Comrade Bushy. I think mine did get clogged. Oh, good. Good. Glad to see this website's functioning. Functioning well. When was the last time you stood in the corner? Should I try that? I didn't really want to do the Blair Witch bit again. I will if necessary. GM already says, I'm not a Schitt's Creek guy, but O'Hara Singsel funny that one Rhea. Sorry, what was... Excuse me, GMO Radio? What was that? What was that? Interesting. This MF said Singsel. That's right. This is how it feels, GMO Radio. This is how it feels. Vexed. This is how it feels when people jump down your throat when you make a little mistake. Oh, no, we've never made... I'm Chad. I've never made a mistake. I've never made a mistake. I could easily sit there and talk for 3, 4, 5 hours and I would say everything totally perfectly, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you, Chad? You would say everything totally perfectly. I get the double standard. I thought that was like making fun of the way Zoomers talk for a second. Yeah, it was the new lingo. It was the new lingo that we're not into. We're not aware of it. Folks, only 7 subs to go. Only 7 subs to get to the goal. Can you believe how close that is? That's so close. That's so close. That's insanely close. Deliciously close. Tantalizingly close. Achingly close. Achingly close. Who's going to win this battle of wills? Achingly close. Chad, we're achingly close to the sub goal. Tantalizingly close. We're only 7 subs away from the goal. Can you believe how close that is? That's so few. It's the last stream of the week. I'm going to be off tomorrow and Friday. It's the last stream of the week. Don't you think, chat, that it would be nice to leave today? To end this week of streams, this wonderful week, by getting across the finish line? I know I would. We're so close to the sub goal. I can almost taste it. I can practically taste it. Please, if you can. One more final call to action. Please, if you can, subscribe to TRRS. For only $5 per month, you can get access to some of the very best tiny little images on this entire platform. You can rent some very excellent tiny little images for one entire month for $5. If you have an Amazon Prime account, you can use your Amazon Prime account to very easily convert to a Twitch Prime sub, totally free of charge. And those Prime subs are very, very helpful to me. It helps me keep the show on the air. So if you can, folks, please subscribe. When you sub, Rob becomes your tiny image landlord. I remember a typo I made back in the early days during our 2020 streams that would get me drawn and quartered now. I jumbled up the letters in your name, just thinking about it makes my palms sweat. Barfcast, you're off the hook, okay? You've been very, very supportive of me in this show, so you're off the hook. You're allowed to spell my name however you want. How about that? That's only for certain key members of this community, and Barfcast, you're one of them. You're allowed. You can call me other names: George, Frank, Bill, Steve, whatever you want. Rob, Orb, Bro, Bor, Aber, Rube, Rabo, Father, Lisan Al-Gaib. We can just pay to get off the hook. That's right. That's how that works. It's a pay-to-play kind of thing. Lisan Al-Gaib. Okay, well, I gotta go. There is still time. Oh, shit. There is still time, folks. Still only 7 to go. That whole ASMR bit, nothing, really? That whole ASMR thing. That didn't work. I'm not going to pretend to understand you people. I'm not even going to try to pretend to understand. What do you want from me? Can we just stop this cruel game and allow the streamer to leave with one shred of dignity? That's okay, St. Lotus. People are very, very supportive of this show. I hope you understand the economic dynamic here and why I must do these calls to action. Believe me, I don't like it any more than you do. Thanks again, friends. Give my regards to you, Gopnik. I'll talk to you soon. May thy knife not chip nor shatter.